All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to High Ground. My name is Tanner, and today, joined by a few guys, we're going to be making our predictions for Six Invitational 2024. I just did that video previously about some other people's predictions, but now it's time for mine and some other people's predictions once again. Joined by four other guys. So, of course, there's me, Tanner, but then I'm also joined by Flambe.
What's up, guys? I'm excited to be here. You want me to say anything else, or
I mean, that's good if that's all you want to say.
okay, yeah, I got nothing else.
Also got Tact.
I'm Tack. I've kind of followed CG Sports for like 3-ish years. I've played for about 4. I started on console, but about a year and a half ago, I've started to play in PC.
The PC move, as we all eventually make. Also joined by Tom.
Heyo, I've been around for a long time now. Geez, before probably the Raleigh Major was one of my first events, but been active in the fantasy community. Started a snake draft league, all kinds of stuff. Happy to weigh in. I'm sure no one cares about my opinion, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway.
And finally, we have K-Bomb.
Yep, I've been in playing Siege since Operation Health and watching esports for about just as long. And my picks are definitely going to be North American bias, but let's get into it.
All right, very cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we're all going to have a little bit of bias in here. And so we're going to be predicting the groups, and then I think we're going to try to touch on a little bit who we sort of have as favorites for the tournament, because obviously it's very difficult to predict the bracket because we don't know who's making it out of groups and what positions and whatever, but just who are some of our front runners to make top 3 or 4 or so of the tournament, and maybe a few other things. So, all right, we're just going to go down the line with Group A, and the order we're going to do it in, it's going to be me, then Flambe, then Tact, then Tom, then K-Bomb, and then we're going to reverse it. So we're just going to go up and down, sort of snake style. So my pick for the top seed of Group A is going to be G2, and I think really most people are going to say G2 or one other team, but I do think it's possible that any of these teams could be predicted except for one of them realistically.
Yeah.
Flambe, who do you have as your pick for?
I feel like this might be different from the norm, but I have NIP as my 1 seed. I thought they looked good at just recently. They have kind of fallen off a little bit, maybe like a year or 2 ago, and I think they're coming back a little bit now. So
yeah, I mean,
I have belief in them.
They made top 8, just like all the other Brazilian teams in Atlanta. And I guess
exactly,
I'll mention as well. We're all gonna go down the line, and then if there's a clear consensus for the position, then we'll try to all touch on the team. If not, we'll maybe keep it running. We'll maybe do another pick or two and see where things land. Okay, what's your pick, Tet?
All right, for me, I guess I'm just also going to be different. I'm picking Dark Zero. I just like the pickups that they made with Nath coming in from M&M. And then I guess Bolo, I think I liked Pamba instead, but I still think the Nath pickup is going to be very beneficial towards them, and I just think they're going to win that group.
What do you mean Pamba instead?
Well, they they got rid of
Gaveni.
Yeah. I didn't even know that happened until recently. Like that was.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it means for the roles exactly.
Yeah. Well, Gaveni was playing the second entry behind Pampa.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Yeah.
So I guess we'll see how that roll, because Nath was playing a little bit of like Thermite here and there as well. So maybe Nath will take that away from him, and he's more traditional, hoping in like entry, flex, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I just like that pick up.
Certainly Dark Zero is just the team to watch, but like obviously any team that's going to pick up Bolo, and not even to mention the Canadians on the roster with them, like they're obviously all eyes are going to be on them.
I think if Canadian plays hard support, that team could be really dangerous.
Oh, please take
Canadian off. Certainly.
Take them off the Twitch and Solus, please.
Oh, yeah.
Let's finish out this round before we get too deep.
We'll get into it a little bit more. What's your pick, Tom?
I'm not original. Well, y'all picked most of the good teams anyway, but I'm going with G2. And if K-Bomb agrees, maybe we can talk about that roster a little more.
Sure. Yeah. What do you got, K-Bomb?
I actually don't agree. I have NIP like Flambe. I think they're gonna have a really good tournament just because it's in Brazil too. I think that's gonna boost them a lot. So that's
that's definitely a big factor. So I guess at this point there's obviously no consensus. It's a tie, so we'll keep it running. Do another pick or two. But I guess since it came up though, do you guys know at what point they start playing in front of the crowd? Is it as soon as bracket starts?
No, it's
it,
not the bracket. It's
It's
I
just
think
like
it's top
top 8 or
10.
10.
I don't think it
It's
came out
a
with which top it is, but I know it's going to be after groups because groups is not going to be.
I don't think groups is like
Yeah, certainly not groups.
yeah.
But what
Um,
did they do? Was it top 6 or top 8
Oh,
last
how
SI?
many teams were at the because majors? I think are top 8.
It's only top 8, right? But it's a different
Yeah,
format. There's 24
exactly.
teams
Yeah, that's what I'm
at the
wondering.
majors.
Yep, only
Yeah.
top 4 of each group make it through. So
And
I guess-
16 teams qualify for the.
I would love if
playoffs,
it was
so.
16, top 16.
That'd be awesome.
They were, that'd be awesome, but I don't know if they'll do that. So.
Yeah,
I kinda
it's
doubt
probably
it.
like the last 3 days, and they
Yeah, I
I
wonder
don't,
if-
it's something like top 8. Anyways, so
Let's see if Wikipedia says.
I don't know if we'll have a consensus until they actually release the schedule.
Yeah.
Assuming they haven't done it. So that in certain, well, you definitely get a crowd buff if you're a Brazilian team, but you still get
Yeah.
an advantage of you're on home soil regardless, even if you're not playing in front of the crowd.
Yeah, I think
Uh,
NIP
so-
is the type of team to just
Oh yeah,
even
they
being
gotta
in Brazil, that's just like them. Like they're
I mean,
playing
them and
at
Liquid
home.
like have to be the most
Yeah.
supported teams, right? W7M obviously are very good, but they're just not as popular as the other guys.
Yeah.
I have a
close.
feeling after the second round that there's going to be one team that stands out as like always in the top 2. But let's see how that shakes
Sure.
out.
Okay, so K-Bomb, what's your pick for second seed?
Okay, so at
Second
number
place
2,
in the group.
I actually have Dark Zero, number
Sure.
2. I think Dark Zero. I agree with what Tact said. I think Nafe is a really good pickup for them. I think that's gonna help them a lot. So yeah, and then Bolo and Pamba is a scary entry duo. So that team's gonna be tough for sure.
Yeah, hopefully Nafe works out for them. Obviously, they've been doing like the shuffle for quite a long time. They had Rice recently. They had Achieve before that. They had they brought back Skies for a little while. They've just been shuffling the roster for a long time.
Yeah.
And Nafe was very impressive on M&M, and I think a lot of people didn't expect him to be as good as he was on that team. But this last stage, especially, he was killing it. He was like top 2 players on the roles he was on. Very good stuff. Tom, what do you have for your second pick?
I've got NIP here, and I would be surprised if everybody doesn't have NIP in their top 3, but we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I'd be surprised as well. Like the top 3 feels pretty clear. Although I mean GK. Do you guys say GK or GK?
I say
It's
GK.
GK.
yeah, I
sure.
say
I think
GK.
I think you said.
I think
GK
the
that whole
casters
last
said
video.
that, and I just picked it up.
Sure.
Yeah, they
I mean, I
clarified that at the last major that it's
Okay.
GK.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think I said GK my whole last video, but whatever. Okay. Yeah, obviously they had an impressive last major, and I guess another question: does anybody? Because I heard that they weren't going to continue on with Leader. He was just subbing for that last event, but I've heard recently that they participated in some like local thing with Leader on the roster. Does anybody know anything?
No, that
about
was Falcons. Falcons was the one with Leader.
Oh, they had Leader.
I
Yeah,
thought
they
it was
had Leader.
GK. Am I
No,
losing
when I
it?
checked
It was
Wikipedia,
It was Falcons.
It was Falcons.
Oh, really?
Falcons,
Oh,
yeah.
I didn't
What
realize
did
that.
GK have?
they
had
Tyrant.
I think Seriously is gonna step in for leader for GK. That's what I think.
Yeah, but who? Because seriously couldn't make the last major, right? Who?
Yeah, they had leader.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Sorry, that's
Yeah.
my bad. I was losing track.
Oh,
Then the
interesting.
last
I
event,
didn't realize that.
you were talking about Tyrant stepped in for Noodle. I don't know if there's anything confirmed with
Oh,
that, but I'm not trying to like make my predictions off of rumors at least yet. So
Yeah, I don't know. They're both British. I
interesting.
imagine Noodle was like going home to visit for break, or I don't know. I couldn't say. I'd be surprised if they didn't have Noodle on the roster. Obviously, Noodle had, or maybe you guys don't know, but Noodle had some personality clashes on
yeah.
Heroic. Was he on Heroic? It was Heroic.
I think it was Heroic, yeah.
It was Koi. Or no,
Mr.
no,
Yeah,
it
he
was
went on Koi
It was
after.
Heroic. And
There's
then,
Oh
no-
yeah, I forgot. He was
yeah,
on
and then
Koi for
briefly
such
on-
a short.
yeah.
He was like their
Uh,
best player, I'm pretty sure, for a little bit.
So we'll see. I don't know.
Watch him out.
He seemed like a pretty put together guy whenever they interviewed him at Atlanta, but that doesn't necessarily reflect what the way you act.
Yeah.
Let's continue on. Tact, who do you have as your second pick?
I'm gonna go with G2. I think
Two.
they're gonna do very good outside of the group stage, but they're gonna do typical G2 fashion. I guess for me, I think they're gonna get off to a slow start, maybe play like Dark Zero close and NIP close, but I think they're going to be top 2 in that group, and then I think afterwards they might have a strong invite performance like the last one.
Fair enough. All right, so we have 3 different picks for the second seed at the moment. This will probably be a tiebreaker or a little bit of a shocker. Let's see. What do we got? Flambe. Second
Real
pick.
quick, I think you want to move the second picks underneath of
Yep.
the other ones.
I'm putting it in the wrong place. Yeah.
But I have G2 as well in second. I think that they're just looking like a powerhouse. So
But not as much
excited
as
to see
Nip.
him play. Not as much as Nip. Nip is I'm excited to see both of them. I want to see them play each other. That'll be a good game.
That should be good. They didn't play, or did they play in Atlanta?
I can't remember.
No, I don't think so.
I can't remember.
No, they didn't have a
Atlanta's-
head-to-head.
played
can't remember
like
Atlanta's team at all.
Swiss has so many games. Nip played.
Swiss is
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
Sure. Okay. Okay, and then my second pick, I went with Dark Zero. So
Okay. I think
we
almost
have
all
we
of
have
us
a pretty
have
big
G2 at
variety
this point.
here. So,
I mean, it's 3 different.
yeah, K-Bomb didn't say G2, but besides that, G2 has 4 mentions. Nip
Well,
has
forget K-Bomb. Let's get in the
3
weeds with
mentions.
G2. We haven't talked about that roster hardly at all.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
they didn't
What
move
I mean,
anything?
what? So you got words to say on it? What do you got?
Yeah, I mean G2 has been a pretty solid roster all year. They really haven't made very many changes. 4 out of 5 of these guys were the ones who won Invitational last year. I mean, I think they definitely have their on days and off days, but I have G2 as a top 3 team. When they show up to invite, they really show up. And I like what I've seen more recently in terms of sharing the load and who carries. Alamau has a good game one day, Doki has another, and they have a talented enough roster that as long as one of them has a good day, they can keep up, in my book anyway.
Yeah, I think at since you mentioned the carries, I noticed this is the last SI, like the MVPs, Doki,
Mm-hmm.
Virtue, Benja,
Yep.
Alamau.
Yeah,
They all had except for Blur, obviously, the hard
Right.
They all had MVP days. They were
And
all-
Blur's not there anymore. Now they have Uno as a solid support who's been in the
Yeah.
G2 organization before. I really like this team. It's definitely, I don't know if they're going to be able to beat the Brazilians at home, but I do think they're going to be a contender
They do
for
have-
sure.
they do have
You can
Alamau.
never count out G2.
They got one.
Well, that's true. That's true. People do like Alamau.
and their coach as well is also Brazilian now. He was the Phases old coach.
Oh,
so
Oh, that's right. Forgot about that.
Romallo.
I forget his name, but
Is it Romallo? Or is it a different?
yeah, I think that
Mike-
I hadn't even
you
considered
can probably
that,
look
but
on
yeah,
Wikipedia.
there's a slight there's even a chance that they could have some home crowd support if they go against another foreign team. Yeah, wow.
One thing
Yeah, I
that
think that-
scares me a
Yeah,
little
Romallo.
about G2 is I watched them play in the South Breach thing. I mean, obviously they weren't trying very hard, but they still, I mean, getting beat 2-0
Yeah, I think-
twice by 2 T3 teams is just not
I
a
think
good
that's
look.
like the biggest thing everybody wants to talk about G2.
They're saving strats. Trust.
And well, I mean, I think
I just
Doki
think with
said it,
players
and-
that talented, it shouldn't be
Yeah.
about strats beating T3 teams, you know? So that's just my
Yeah.
thinking there.
I don't know. It's hard to say. I didn't watch a ton of it. I think I watched the one where they played against Jihu and they got the first one they got 2-0. And I wasn't watching
Forgot about
super closely or anything. And yeah, like they lose. I don't know. Like there's good T3 teams and whatever. And now T2 is a little bit less of a thing. Although maybe that's a little bit different in Europe. But the lines are a little bit blurred. But I think Doki did say like they're all on break and they're just getting a little bit of practice in. They're not taking it super seriously. And I think you sort of got to take their word for it. Like they fell off only a little bit after SI. Like they didn't make it back to the grand final, but they made top 8 and top 4, I believe. Right? I think they made top 8 in Copenhagen, and then they made it to. Or do I have it backwards?
Yeah, they were top 4 in Atlanta.
Yeah, and they're
for
top 4 in Atlanta. Yeah, so they're
Yeah.
they're still competing there in the final brackets. And I don't know. I just don't think like the T3 tournaments or anything to be that worked up about.
And according to Alamau, apparently Benja was the IGL during that, so I don't think they're really taking it that seriously. But I do agree that it's a 2-3 team, so I don't think they should be losing that. But I think it's
They did
not
beat
something we
Virtus
should-
Pro.
I'm not worried. That's for sure.
yeah, we're not worried. We shouldn't be taking it like
They
too
beat Virtus
personally.
Pro in the qualifiers or whatever for the South Breach.
Yeah.
So that's a win.
Yeah, Virtus Pro have been. I guess we'll talk about them later. They've been weird.
Yep.
Does anybody have any other words they want to say about G2?
I just think that like Uno being on the roster now is just makes them even stronger than they were when they won with Blur. Like obviously we know what Uno can do, and he's been a part of G2 before, as you said. So I just think he's a very very strong pickup and makes them again look really good going into Invitational.
Yeah, I mean, pound for pound, it seems like an improvement on the roster, and that's
Yeah.
the reigning world champion roster. So I
Yeah.
don't know, not the best team rarely, if ever, wins on paper, but obviously,
Yeah, and it like I think it'd be hard pressed to find a better roster on paper than this one. This is a
Yeah, I mean, I
stacked
think
roster.
that's
I've got two in mind personally, but I do like
okay,
G2 a lot.
but it's certainly up there. But
All
yeah,
right, so
I think they look good.
let's keep it rolling then. Let's go to the third pick, and I have Nip as my third pick. I don't think that's going to surprise everybody. I assume everybody's going to round out the rest of their top threes with the Nip DZ G2 pick that they don't already have, but I don't know, maybe somebody slides GK in here. So Flambe, what do you got?
Yeah, I'm gonna slide GK in there.
There it is.
They looked really really good. What was the last major? Atlanta.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And yeah, leader was a very big part of that, but I think seriously is the one that they are used to on that roster, and having him back makes them. I think they'll be better than they were in Atlanta. Will they be better than DZ? I'm not certain on that, but I'm a believer, and I'm hoping.
Keep fueling Canadian.
I love that pick, and we will talk more about this
Also,
later.
yeah, I'm biased against Canadians, so that's a little bit right there.
And one more thing I wanted to mention before we continue, or two things, I guess. It's all best of threes, the groups, which I assume you guys are all aware of, but anybody listening that is not, or maybe not, right?
Oh
it's
shit, I got it in my notes.
It's the same as
know.
it's the same as last year, right? Where each team plays each other in a best of three.
That makes it a lot better.
Rather than
that's a big difference.
And obviously,
okay.
very very different from the major groups. Those are only 4 teams, and it's the GSL style or whatever.
That's a
keep
lot
that
of
in mind.
seeds. Okay.
And I did also want to say G2 and DZ. I didn't mention this in my video. They were in the same group in Atlanta, right? And G2 won, and that was only a best of one. It was 8-6. But I mentioned these guys were in a group. These guys were in a group, but these guys were also in a group.
And GK beat G2 and lost 2-1.
Mm-hmm.
They beat them in the Swiss stage, and then they lost 2-1 to them in the playoffs.
Oh yeah.
So they were
2-2
against G2 actually. Sure. Throughout Atlanta.
Okay, so yeah, let's continue then. On that note, Tact, what do you have for your third pick?
I'm going with Fear X. Just kidding, I'm not. But I'm going with NIP.
I was about to say.
I'll finally throw Dark Zero on. I almost put GK up here, but I will get into why I did not later.
All right.
Yeah.
And K-Bomb.
G2. And I almost put GK here as well, but I was like, just no way G2.
Ooh,
okay, let's talk about. Let's get DZ and NIP out of the way since they are for the most part all up on the board.
What do we have? NIP higher on average? We have 2 NIPs in first.
Yeah,
like
I don't have DZ up there. So
who wants to speak on NIP? Maybe one of the people that have them as their first seed, Flambe or K-Bomb.
I mean, I already said, like, I think them being at home is really the biggest factor here for me. And always SI. NIP always seems to play really good at SI compared to the majors. And, like, I just think being at Brazil, they're just going to be a team to really thrive in that environment. And
I don't think they're
going to come out hot.
SI, were they? I think they lost their spot to Los in the
I don't know about last, but just traditionally, like.
But
I mean, they've won before, so
they've won, and they've also been runners up, and that was that's a very different roster if we go back that far.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, they still had Pino and Musi, right?
Pino, Musi, and
Psycho.
Yeah. That core's been there for a while. So yeah, they have SI experience.
And Nip. Well, okay, I don't want to call you out. Nip did. They fell pretty early at 20. They weren't at the last SI. Before that, they fell at. I guess this is 16th place.
MRBR was just such an underdog story during.
That's true.
Yeah, they you want to talk about a team that was good at SI and nothing else. Yeah,
Can't argue with that.
for me, the biggest thing that always comes to mind is the inconsistency. Like one stage they're
Mhm.
they're top of Brazil, next stage they're bottom. Like the rivaled historically only by like Rogue. You know when
Yeah.
like Leon
Oh.
Gale Rogue,
Don't
where
get
they
me started.
like in Karzeka and you know the other whoever else was on the roster sort of rotating. Yeah, like top to bottom, and same thing at international events. One major I think they went out in groups. Another time they made it to the semi or something. You know, just up and down
Yeah.
and up and down. And I mean, they were technically they were pretty high, right? In Atlanta, at least making it. They fell top 8, right? They
Yeah.
No,
No,
they
didn't
fell
make it.
short.
did they not?
They were. I think
I
they
think
were
Wolves
last.
eliminated them.
I must be thinking
Yeah.
Copenhagen then.
They had a bad Swiss stage. Copenhagen, they lost to
Okay,
Sonics.
yeah, they fell.
and
Yep. So
first.
Copenhagen, maybe. So maybe
Yeah.
they were down. So maybe it's time for an upswing. Sure.
Uh,
I don't have it in me to generally doubt them, but I also, you know, at the same time, I average it out in the middle, even though they pretty rarely place in the middle.
for NIP, and D, I can say this for DZ too. Both of these things. One, with the long off season, I trust a team like NIP and DZ. I feel like they're going to be well prepped coming into a tournament like this. And also, it's best of threes. NIP and DZ, both teams that I like in best of threes. So I think that.
Yeah,
that helps
GK not
both
nearly
those
as
teams
proven.
come.
Even if they were impressive in Atlanta, a lot of those were best of ones.
Yeah.
Like they beat W7M and BDS, but they were both in best of ones. You know, they didn't play a ton of best of threes.
Yeah, it was the only best of 3 they played the loss to G2
It
in
might
Atlanta.
have been because they won.
Because they won.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won from
lost 2-1.
topside, and
They
then
never got to the bottom of
They didn't
Swiss.
get
No.
Or
They-
did
They played Wolves in a best of three.
Yeah,
I
they
think.
play Wolves.
Oh,
Does
did they?
Wolves
the
count?
GK. Yeah, because they
Oh.
lost.
Yeah,
back to the
Wolves.
wall. So they beat Wolves. You know, the best of 3 overlords in in a best of 3. And then so they beat Wolves and they lost to what did we say, G2, right?
No, it's W7M. I
Yeah.
thought
Oh, and the
Oh yeah, wait.
in the
Yeah,
finals.
it was W7M. It was W7M.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
okay.
lost. They lost to
Okay,
the
so they
major
lost
winners.
to-
That's
yeah, that
not
was the
like.
eventual.
They got a map off them too.
Yeah, matter of fact,
They-
they're one of
yeah,
the
yeah.
only teams to take a map off of
One of
W7M.
G2's
Yeah, I think-
players.
I think
or
it was
one of-
only.
because they played the best.
Was
of
it
ones
JV
before,
Unless-
92 that teabagged them and then they won the map? That was pretty nice.
Oh, yeah.
I think GK and Los are the only 2 teams to take a map off W7M at that major, right?
They are. That is correct.
Yeah. So I mean, that's
yeah.
a big thing to do. I mean,
Absolutely.
other than the second place team, you know, other team.
And they
I-
played
I-
in some MENA tournament and beat Falcons again, 3-1.
Oh, really?
That's fine.
Yeah, I
So,
don't think too many people are like nearly
Yeah.
as high on Falcons because they might have been like better
Yeah.
than people expected.
Still
at
the best competition
Copenhagen, but
we got
then
over there.
they still weren't crazy. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
to be fair, it's clearly the 2 best meta
Yeah.
teams. I guess let's talk about DZ a little bit more. Maybe not too much more since we've already talked about them a decent amount. Does anybody want to talk about DZ a bit more?
I
Maybe
got some
back to
words
the-
for DZ. I don't think I've
number
gotten
one.
to share, but actually, Tack, you haven't talked in a while. Please jump in.
Yeah, I guess what you guys were saying, I think best of threes definitely benefit them. I think the biggest thing for them is, I don't know if it's mean to say, I think Canadian just needs to go back to his hard support, IGL, stuff like that.
Preach.
Getting old,
Yeah.
he doesn't have what he used to have, so I think he just needs to lock in the hard breach, get on his drone, and just drone in Pamba and Bolo, and then I think that they can just win.
Make calls.
And stop, like I said, stop playing soulless and getting first picked all the time.
And I
Right.
guess we'll see. Obviously, he had success at an SI doing it before, won a championship doing it that way. And who knows? Like, Canadian's getting old. He's been playing for a long time. He's played on Dark Zero longer than any other org he played on. I mean, I don't. Maybe he's trying to go big and then go home. Maybe he's done after this. Who knows? I mean, I don't want to speak on it too much because obviously it's just absolute hearsay, or even less than that. I don't know. You bring Bolo on the roster for one final ride, maybe.
And
See-
I guess everyone's talking about like Bolo joining, and of course Nafe is a big pickup. But I think, like I said, Nafe joining I think opens up NJR to have such a bigger impact
Yeah.
than he has been
Yeah.
the past few
Definitely been
tournaments. And we know how good he can be when he can play the ops that he can have impact on, and like I said, not just play Thermite getting walls and hopefully playing, I guess, flex roles instead.
Yeah.
See, actually, I have some contradictory thoughts to some of those points,
Go for it.
which is why I put DZ down here. I think, well, one, I'm nervous that for a while, Dark Zero has been bringing on new talent with most of their pickups, bringing people that are new to Siege, and those people are, they're more or less playing how Canadian wants them to play. This is the first time that Dark Zero has brought on veterans who have played in other systems and kind of know what they're doing. And I'm interested to see if everyone's gonna
Achieve,
mesh.
to be fair.
Well, that's true. I forgot about Achieve, but his stint was not very long last either.
And also Skies, to be fair. But
Also,
Oh, that's
Achieve
true.
didn't play very well for them, so I'm like
he really didn't. He just didn't fit.
that didn't work
I don't know.
clearly. So
For some reason,
Yeah.
he didn't fit.
Oh, I guess my
I don't
memory's not as good as I thought it was, but I really think, honestly, I think Nafe coming in is going to be a better hard support and
Well-
is actually going to enable Canadian to play more of the flex or fragging ops that he really wants to play. I don't know if that's going to be a positive or negative for the team. I guess we'll kind of see, but I could see Nafe being the new hard support, and I do agree that NJR could be freed up to play some more comfortable operators and do even better than the amazing performance that he had already done on that hard breach role.
yeah.
Yep.
I don't know. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do agree with your points. I guess we'll see how they perform, but I guess I expect Canadian to just play the hard breach and hard support because they did bring in Nathan, who's I guess kind of when he was on Eminem, him and Nello would I guess rotate who was doing what, but he
I
has
feel like
experience on that.
I feel like it would be better for them if Canadian played hard support, but at the same time, like Canadian's like 2 or 3 time like champion. We're trying to tell him what to do.
Yeah.
He can do whatever he wants at this point.
They
So
both can.
yeah,
We are just some guys sitting in gaming chairs who have never been in Pro League.
Hey, I gotta roll off this shirt, buddies.
But hey, guess what? We're right. All of our opinions are 100%
yeah,
correct,
well,
and no one
I
can
mean,
disagree
Yeah.
with us.
They're all different from each other, so certainly not all, one of us is right at most. But I think one more thing that should be said on it. Obviously, bringing on Bolo and Nafe, both they're very exciting additions, but yeah, you can't just assume that it's going to work right away. Like they do have a significant amount of time. They had a fairly decent amount of time in the offseason, but I mean, just truly great rosters. Sometimes they take longer to form. It might not be. They might not have had enough time, even though they are experienced players. Just meshing everyone together. We'll have to see. It could be spectacular, or it could fail spectacularly. We don't know.
And people can
Agreed.
take off the one. I think it was one game that Bolo had when he played for Wild Card, standing in
He
for
was
Mert.
well. I
guys
mean, he
remember
wasn't
that?
great.
He was
been,
not
a
great,
little bit
but-
negative, but he didn't get decimated.
He was
I
just
guess.
stepping in. I don't even think he really
Yeah.
had like scrim time with them, since it was like
No,
a last
I
minute
I think
thing,
he had like 24 hours to prep at
Yeah.
most.
That was
He
that's
did his
that's
best
the
with
big
what he
what if
had.
moment. Yeah, like
Mhm.
where would Wildcard have gone if they didn't have to make a sub there? Okay, so I think we've talked about them enough, and in fact I think Group A is sort of dragging on, but we have a couple more teams to talk about. So let's.
I think
try to
these
get
last
through 'em.
2 rounds will go quickly. But
Yeah,
let's
Yeah,
knock
I
them
think
out.
a pretty
Well, we still have 2 more
clear
teams to talk
cut.
about, but I think one of them might not be discussed too much.
Yeah.
Kayvon, what do you have as your 4th pick?
I have GK. I
Yes.
think GK. I have them at 4, but I think they could make a run to be in that top 3 potentially. So we'll see.
Yeah,
We'll
I
see how
can
they
see
do.
it.
I got
Tom.
GK here too.
Tap.
I also have GK.
Flambe.
Dark Zero.
Easy. Big DZ hater. And
Yeah.
I have GK of course as well, and so
Yeah, I think we all know.
I'll just fill. Yeah, obviously we know the.
Yep,
final
fill it
five.
out. That's good.
Who
Um,
wants to say a few words on GK?
I'll say I wish I had the balls to make the call that Flambe did and put them in 3rd. They are a pretty strong team, and they are the only team besides Los to take a map off of W7M at the last major. That is a huge accomplishment, and they should be proud of that. The fact that they are not, or most likely not bringing back leader is definitely a concern. I just haven't seen, I unfortunately I haven't gotten to watch Mana, and I haven't seen seriously play. But the other teams in this group are just very stacked, and I have a hard time putting GK above any of the other 3.
Yeah.
People
I feel like
are saying a
after-
lot about Group C, but Group A looks.
Yeah, I
pretty
was gonna say
scary as
after
well.
Group C, this group definitely feels like the second
Yeah,
kind of
I agree with that.
group of death.
Me
almost.
too. I think
Yeah.
along with Group C, I think Group A is like very hard to predict, and that's why we have all like at least the top 3 to. It's all like different for the most part because it's a pretty hard group to predict.
The only
you know,
reason
like-
this group isn't really the group of death is because they do have that Fear X, which is like
Yeah.
pretty
Well,
obvious.
no
it's
shade, but Group
eliminated.
B and Group D both have 2 APAC teams, yeah, sorry, they have 2 APAC
Yeah,
teams.
2 APAC,
so
yeah.
it's,
Mhm.
I mean,
Well, wait, no, is Bliss
B plus
A?
Bliss.
That's
they're,
Oceania, I thought.
well, yeah, but that's
Or
I
is
mean
that-
Used
the
to be
previous-
part of
that's-
APAC.
Yeah,
Okay.
technically, like none of them are the same region, right? But now,
Yeah, no.
except for, no, I don't know. Are these? I don't know which league are Fury in. Are they? They're in Oceania, right?
They're with Bleed.
No, they're just
so-
like Asia. The Asian
Yeah, they're the
There's too many
Southeast
APAC
Asia.
leagues, really. One might say. Okay, and yeah, I mean, does anybody want to say anything about Fear-X? Like, do you guys think that Fear-X is the worst team in the tournament?
No, I do not.
Ooh.
I think Fury's worse because if you look, I think if you look at what was it, the first major of this year, Fury actually lost to them.
I don't
in
know if they're
the-
the worst, but I do
You
think
lose
they're
to
the
them, or was
easiest
it
to predict to go
like
home.
close.
I think they're
I think-
definitely in the
I think
bottom.
it was the
two.
first It was one of the majors.
Fury. Oh, they did lose.
Yeah, they lost
Okay.
to
They lost to them.
I guess
mean,
it's
it's a close
7-5.
game, and it's also a major ago. Fury had a. I mean, I don't know. Let's not talk about Fury till we get
Yeah,
to them.
but I
guess.
guess I think who did I say it? Oh, it was with Tom. I guess I was making the case that they could actually beat GK, but I guess with them they added Rin, who, if people remember, he was part of the one of the major parts of
That's a
the
good
D
point.
plus run in 2021 invite,
Yep.
and making top 8. And so I think his experience, and I think he's going to do a lot for them. I also like them adding Dark as a coach, who was a coach for MIBR when they were the team that kind of only performed at invite, but they still did good. I guess there's a question of the language barrier there since he is Brazilian. So
They brought him on as coach. You said, not analyst.
as coach, yep.
Gotcha.
I don't think Sandbox or Fear X is a bad team by any means. They made it to invite for good reason. I have a hard time justifying them winning against any of these other 4 teams. I think they were just very unfortunate in their placement here. And there's not a great chance that they make it out.
To be honest, I don't think they're going to get a map against any of these 4 teams.
Right.
See, I kind of know that too. I'm just kind of hoping for the best, just hoping for an upset, but I guess we'll
They
see.
could absolutely play upset and affect the seeding for sure.
I mean, with
Yeah.
4 teams getting out of 5, any of these teams have a chance to get out. All they have to do is win one best of 3 that they shouldn't really,
Yep.
and they're in, you know.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like saying just got to win a best of 3 on the biggest stage in the world.
fair.
Like, any given
Yeah, it's
maybe
harder
they're not the
said than
chokers, but
done.
like obviously it's made much harder by there being.
But what if
all
they,
best of threes.
go against Dark Zero first, and Dark Zero is not acclimated with Bolo and
Yeah.
Nafe well enough yet, and then they still
True.
win there. All of a sudden,
Yeah,
they're in
Dark
the
Zero,
conversation.
they always
Dark
start
Zero-
slow in the games and in tourneys generally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't
There's
Dark
also,
Zero almost
like-
lose to Fury? I thought in one of the majors.
Against Fury. Yeah, they went round
Okay.
15, map 3 in
Wow.
Atlanta.
Yeah, I think it was in groups.
in
They almost
the
lost to Fury.
right here.
in the-
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oregon.
I didn't even realize that.
Round 15. Yeah, they were 1 round away.
Man, good for Fury.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if it
Yeah. I mean,
if it bodes
also
well for them
there's always the
Sure.
chance that like GK just crumble with Seriously and they're not what they had with Leader and they just lose out to Fury. And then I think if that happens, like whichever there's always like it's very likely that if GK don't show up with Seriously and Fearx just aren't that good, whichever team wins that best of 3 is
Yeah.
the one that
I mean,
makes
it's a
it. Yeah,
possibility.
I
So,
definitely
I don't
think GK are like the big wild card in this group because they
Exactly.
have technically
Yeah.
of all these, like they might even have the best track record because the only event they've gone to they're really good, but it's just the one event.
Yeah.
And with a sub, it's just hard to tell. I think we should
Yep.
move on to Group B here. And
Yeah.
so we're gonna kick it off with K-Bomb this time.
Okay. Number 1 and Group B, I have none other than SSG.
Ooh.
Wow. Okay.
Gotta love
All
those
right.
guys.
I've got keep this moving. I've got FaZe, my number 1.
Sure. Oops, what did I press? Oh. I did it again.
Oh, it doesn't want you to
No, I'm
type the
pressing
Z.
Alt apparently on my
Ah,
keyboard. I'm
okay.
seeing that.
I also picked FaZe.
FaZe, yeah. Flambe?
I too have FaZe.
Yeah. And I'll round it out with a FaZe pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about FaZe.
Sure. If you watched the previous video, like that was the consensus. Like the
Yeah.
big lock-in picks were FaZe and W7M top of their groups, FearX bottom of their group, and funny enough, Falcons middle of their group. But I mean, FaZe are a scary team, and yeah, somebody else go ahead and speak on him if you like.
Everyone's talking about how W7M, they got back-to-back major wins, and unfortunately, that's overshadowing the fact that FaZe have back-to-back top 4 performances, which is not an easy feat either. I think FaZe are also in my top 3. They're just so consistent and they play so well together as a team. Their attacks are better than most other teams that I'm watching these days, and it's just so hard to root against them.
Yes, I also agree. I think a hot take for this is I think they can actually win the whole thing because they did so good the last major. But if you notice, that one guy didn't really perform the best the last major, and that was Cyber. He kind of disappointed. So I think if he can get what he did during, I think the first major, he kind of carried them into that major and put in a lot of work. So I think if he repeats that performance and
Was it KDS who played really good in Atlanta? I
yeah,
think
KDS,
KDS
yeah,
had a
I
really
think
good
Souls
Yeah,
also did good as well.
Yeah.
Souls is like
as
always
he generally
showing up.
does. He's very
Yeah.
consistent. KDS, I think for a while, he sort of bossed up recently, but for a while, I think people were sort of doubting him going back to the roster, saying that's not really what they needed. But
I
I
think
think
there's
he showed up.
there's so many teams where like if just everyone on the team shows up, there's it's hard to say they won't win it. But
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
just
And that's
there's so
probably
it's just
how you want your team to be. You probably
Yeah.
built your
Right.
team with that in mind a little bit.
yeah.
What's
Want
so
everybody to have
good
some
about
potential.
FaZe, in my opinion, is that the majority of the time they all show up together.
Yeah.
Back in the day, it used to be Cyber would carry this team all the time, and that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. But now I feel like Cyber has that support in his teammates that even if he can't step up all the time, somebody is going to do it.
I just think if he does show up, then that's when they can win the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. No,
Because
I
they
can't
have
agree more.
they've beaten W7M both Brazilian leagues to like win the whole. I know they beat actually Liquid the first Brazil league stage 1, but stage 2 they beat W7M to win stage 2.
Yeah.
So
And
can definitely-
I don't think it'll be as much factor against W7M, but it's in Brazil. I'm probably gonna say this about every Brazilian team. As we get further into the playoffs, the Brazilian teams, especially the fact that it's in that it's Brazil. Brazil crowds get wild.
Yeah,
I feel like.
I think
And
I
that's
did
just
neglect to
gonna be
mention
crazy.
that. I mentioned Nip and Liquid, but for some reason I just forgot to say FaZe as well. Those are like the big 3 Latam or Brazil teams, right? That everybody's gonna be cheering for. Two things I noticed on FaZe. Obviously, top 4 placement extremely impressive. They fell off really hard in those top 4. Like I don't want to say they choked, but they got beaten pretty badly, both by Los in Atlanta. You see it here, 7-2, 7-5, and in Copenhagen, 7-1, 7-4 by Liquid. So lost both times in the semifinals, 2-0 to other Brazilian teams very badly. I don't know if that's like some sort of trend. They beat Scars in top 8 here in Copenhagen, and in Atlanta they did it against SSG. So maybe that just speaks even more to Brazilian dominance. But they beat non-Brazilian teams, and then they crumbled against Brazilian teams in the semis. And another thing, I think the FaZe versus SSG match is one we got to talk about at least a little bit, given they're in the same group.
Mm-hmm.
And that was just such a spectacular comeback by SSG in the second map.
yeah.
Weren't able to quite close it out, but that's like if you're gonna, I think that's got to be one of the all-time maps to recommend
Oh,
somebody to watch in Siege.
I know for me and
Console.
Tom, we were both in Atlanta, and I'll say that was like the best match of Siege I've ever watched because we
It
were all
was-
cheering for SSG. It was awesome.
Yeah, I think
It was
I was
fantastic to be
watching.
there
It
in
got
person.
it got to 1-6, and I think I just like I walked away from it. And I came back, and they were starting to heat up. Oh, man, yeah, that was a great one to watch.
Let's get into round 2 because I have a feeling SSG is going to come up kind of naturally
Sure.
here.
So yeah, my second pick, I do have SSG. Flambe.
This might be a hot take. I got Team Bliss at my number 2.
Ooh, I like it. I like it.
Okay.
A bit hot. Sure.
Yeah.
I also have SSG.
SSG. Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm right there with the SSG train.
And K-Bomb.
Phase.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
there it is. There's SSG.
So SSG, yeah. I mean, how are we feeling? They're not like a fully proven team, but I think the one map does a lot for the for the public opinion on them.
Sorry to interrupt. My wife is a huge SSG fan. She heard me say the team name and she came in the room and started dancing, celebrating.
Yeah,
but
that's my favorite team. For sure.
SSG, they're just
I've made it
fun.
known.
Yeah, they're my favorite.
They
team,
are
too.
so fun.
Let me talk about action, bro. I think this guy is insane, and we saw him at the end of Atlanta just gain
he
a
came
ton
alive.
of confidence, and I just
No
feel like
kidding.
he's gonna keep gaining confidence, and this team is just gonna keep getting better and better, and that's why I have them winning this group. I think they're gonna be a really good team this tournament. I think sneaky contender.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
just Fultz is always consistent. I feel like Ashen, if he shows up even bigger than he did in Atlanta, that's going to be huge. Jane, I know my second favorite player ever. He is like he's somehow still underrated in my opinion, but
Who's number one?
he's just I don't know. He's just
What?
so good. Oh, who's number one?
Yeah, who's
Shepard.
number-
Shepard's my
Okay.
favorite player.
I don't know.
But Forrest, he didn't have the greatest Atlanta, if I remember correctly. And I think if because he's on the hard support now, if he shows up in the Invitational, I think they could go really far.
And hot and cold needs to be hot whenever.
Oh
they
yeah,
play.
hot and cold. Yeah,
Man,
he really is.
I got
just
words
hot
for
and
hot and
cold.
cold.
He needs to be
Oh
on
my
the
God.
hot side.
Cold, you're not listening to this, but you've been cold for too long, my man. I'm so sorry to say it.
Has he been cold?
We need
I
some
feel
hot
like he has been.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like him and Forrest are definitely the two weakish spots on SSG, but I think Forrest being the
Oh, that's
IGL.
where I do think Forrest is one of the better support players I've seen in a while. And
Yeah.
I think he may not have had the most impressive games, but when that crank
I think he's a good
mindset
IGL
hits,
too. Yeah,
you know, they're
cranky.
I've got them as my dark horse. I think if they're on their game, they're on it. And the only reason I don't have them in my top 3 is mostly because they're not a Brazilian team. There's no way they get crowd support in my book.
Tom, you're gonna spoil all your top 3 and dark horse picks.
Yeah, well,
we had
we had a lot of mine early.
Obviously, Phase 4 was picked as number 1, but I don't think anybody here or anybody in general would be terribly surprised to see SSG show up big in the group stage. I think they have that
Not at
potential
all.
to be mediocre, but also to be spectacular, I think.
I also think the lower 3 of that group is very mediocre, so I think they're definitely gonna show up.
I think this
in
is
the
where the
group
rankings
stage.
will get interesting. I'm very
Yeah.
excited to see who everybody's got as the pick 3.
Who are we at? Did I go? No,
I think
it's
K-Bomb's
K-Bomb, right? Yeah, K-Bomb.
Number 3, I have Team Bliss.
Hey, I am right there with you. Team Bliss number 3.
All right, this could be a. What if this is a Bliss shutout? What do you got, Tom?
Oh, sorry. I'm there. Bliss.
Oh, yes. Oh, you
Number
were
3.
officially.
Yep.
Okay.
Alright, I actually picked D+. I'm a believer.
Wow. Okay.
I'm putting him as DK
Okay.
on this sheet.
DK, yeah, I know.
We all know that.
I bet what's no, I don't know. Maybe I should write deep. Well, I'm not writing deep. I guess I could write DP, but it's like that. I don't know. They've changed their name so many times. They are.
Do a D and a plus sign.
I could, but I've been writing DK. I'm too used.
It's
to
not that deep.
Just put D. Just put D.
Flambe.
I have SSG.
SSG, and I can't believe nobody else put Wolves. I'm surprised.
Yeah,
I'm not
I feel like
surprised
that's
that some people
consensus.
I don't
put.
think anyone's hot on Wolves, honestly.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
okay. I guess who do we're supposed to talk about Bliss now?
Yeah, I think
There've
Bliss
been
is up
3
next.
Bliss picks. All right. Who wants to talk about Bliss?
I see 4 Bliss picks.
4? Did
Bliss.
Nope, 3. Nope, I
it's
just can't
not,
count.
yeah.
Bliss is a team that they played really bad in the first major this year. What was that major?
Copenhagen. Yeah, they lost
Copenhagen?
to. Well, they got
Yeah.
crushed by W7M.
They-
What can you do? And then they lost to
They
Jones
lost to
Barrel.
Barrel.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
tough one.
but in Atlanta, I feel like they came in with a new mindset and they played a lot better. They were 1 round away from making it to the Swiss stage, and that was against SSG. Yeah, and
Against Wolves,
SSG and
SSG and then Wolves, yeah.
yeah. So and I think that them already playing these teams also helps. Like they'll be a little bit more comfortable in the server. So I think Team Bliss is I don't know that they're gonna go too far in playoffs, but I think they could be a pretty good team out of the street.
They didn't have roster changes, right?
No, they
Not
didn't.
I'm aware of.
So Bliss, Wolves, SSG, they're all same teams that just all played each other.
Because Bliss made I think it was a change after the first stage, because that's when they had Jigsaw.
Yeah, because
and then
Jigsaw
they
went
got rid of
to
him.
Koi, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah,
that's when they got
that's
Wettables.
funny.
I think that's who they picked up for the second stage.
Who is on Bliss right now? Let's see.
Yeah, it's Wettables. You're right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Wettables.
Wettables, Sejan, Brendo, Fisho, Iota.
Sajan was really good. I think I remember, and Oda is pretty good too.
Yeah,
I don't.
Yeah,
I think
I
those
think-
those two were like the two
Well,
guys.
obviously, you guys, this call in general has a decent opinion on Bliss, putting them above, on average, both D plus and Wolves. But yeah, I think this speaks for itself. And one of them's the best of one. You know, that's going to happen sometimes. But then they did again their very next game. They went to the absolute brink, 15 rounds against a pretty consistent international team. You know, Wolves, they're usually no slouches. They usually make a not super deep run internationally, but they're usually pretty consistent around the top 8 and maybe top 11 now that the majors have been restructured a little bit. But I've heard other people speak highly of Bliss as well. I mean, I think I've heard Dev Marta say it, and of course he's going to hype up his region a little bit. But you know, I think some people do have faith in Bliss, even beyond the relative scope of APAC, right?
They're a fun team to cheer for too. I think. I think everybody wants to see Australian Siege be. You know,
Oh yeah,
back.
I think
You know.
they're out for revenge. I think they. If I were them, I would feel gypped that we didn't make it out of groups in the
That's
in the
a
Atlanta
tragedy.
major.
Like,
And I'm
that's-
out for blood against those teams that sent me
Fury,
there last
the
time.
one time, like that's tough, but God, 2 times, that's a
Mhm.
heartbreaker.
Yeah, and that's kind of the reason I have them at my 2. Is I think FaZe will be the only best of 3 I think they'll lose. I think they kind of know what they're getting into with SSG and Wolves now, and then I don't have a ton of confidence in D plus. And I think that this is the prior experience up against these 2 teams and a just overall more experience at the international stage. I think they'll be able to, I don't know, hopefully get up to second in the group.
We'll see. I mean, I guess you heard it here first. If Bliss get second place, that's a pretty impressive call. So let's keep it rolling. Let's go to number 4.
Yeah.
I think I'm first up, and yeah, I have Bliss. I don't think too many people are that high on the final team in this group, but I guess we'll see in a moment. Flambe, what do you got?
I have D plus.
Okay, well, prove me wrong.
I'm glad we have the same opinion on Wolves Flambe. I'm also picking Bliss.
Hell yeah!
Wow.
All right.
I did put Wolves here. Yep.
And K-Bomb.
D plus.
Oh,
Yes,
my
let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Wow.
Not because I'm high on D plus either. It's because
But
I'm
just
low
because
on
Wolves are so low.
Well, damn. I think
listen,
we have to talk about D
I
plus
guess
first.
I
then.
guess D plus is next. Yeah.
Yep.
I can
All right. When do you?
talk
Or
about
I
that.
guess I got to hear what Tact has to say. He put him at.
Yeah, I put him
third, yeah.
third. I guess I don't know if people really know the addition that they got. They got D Molly. I don't know if I said that right.
I
They
always
got
say
rid of
Molly,
Harper.
but it's like the same. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's like the same.
I
Tell us
really
about it.
I really like him because I don't know if you guys know, at the first major he was on Northception, I think that's how you say it, and he
Mhm.
was like one of the only reasons why they've even made a major, and he plays a lot of supporting roles, which I think is going to be good. Harper kind of disappointed in that and what he was doing with D plus, and so I think he's either him or I heard Coded might also be going into that hard breach, hard support role, and I just like them. for that because that also opens up Yas and Wookiee Man, which I like a lot.
I will
I
say
think they're
for
gonna
the
do.
for the APAC teams, this is probably one of the most mechanically best teams. I think Yas is really good,
He's
and I
very
think
good. Yeah.
Coded and
I
Soldier are
remember
both really good
a few
too.
years
So.
ago, Yas being heralded as like one of the next god of the game, and then
I mean,
and then
does
it
he
turned
still have
into
that
everyone
kill
calling him
record?
Vader. But
He had the kill record of like 28 in one map at
No,
one.
that was
at one
I think
point.
that's been
Honeydew.
beaten.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think it got beaten, but it was there for a while. I think.
I think his lifetime stats are just like incredible, but part of
They
that,
are.
you know, playing in APAC, it's a little bit easier. But still, like the numbers are insane. Just apples to apples. Yeah. Any more D plus chatter?
No,
Mm,
like they're kind of
Alright.
just.
Oh wait, I
overall.
guess you can also say that most of that team does have invite experience because I'm pretty sure Wookiee, Yas, and not sure about Coded were part of the
Yeah, that's Coded,
2021
right?
invite
I
team.
think Coded was on there.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And
yeah,
then- yeah.
they've been there. They've made the upsets, breaking people's expectations. So I think they can do that again.
Well, the consensus
and
of this
that's-
group is that Wolves are the worst team here, which is I don't necessarily agree, but man, let's
Well,
let's
take
talk
it,
about
Tom.
why.
You're one of the only people that didn't put him in last along with me. So let's.
Yeah, a part of that's because I'm an EU shill. I just
Ooh.
really like European teams. I have for a long time, but I
Yeah.
gotta say this team, while it is mechanically gifted and there's a lot of talent here, it just feels like there's a leadership.
They need
Whoever
They
Rise.
need Rise.
Rise.
I miss
the
Rise.
IGL.
Even though listen, Rise had some not great performances as an individual, but I do think he was a phenomenal leader for this team, and he is what kept them together when they had their strong runs. Now that he's gone, this team has experience, but no one's really stepping up to be the leader that he was, which
it's
is
P4 that's the IGL, right?
maybe.
Is it?
Oh,
I have
is
no
it? I thought it
idea.
was Pika.
I don't know.
Or no.
No,
I think they
I'm-
moved it to Bibu. I
Yeah,
thought.
Bibu was
Maybe they did.
IGL last major.
But it,
I'm pretty sure.
I'm not crazy. It was P4 for like a long time though, right?
It might have been. The fact
I
that
think
none
they
of us
switched.
know
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
fact that none of us remember
Well,
is kind of indicative
they're
that
French,
like, hey,
so
this
what
team
do you
doesn't
want us to
have
do?
a great leader, you know?
Yeah,
I
fair
think
enough. Fair enough.
Shinka might
Right.
be one of the better supports in the
He
game
is.
currently.
Shinka's really
he
good.
really is.
Mowgli
It
and
feels like-
Bibu are both talented killers. Like the
Yeah.
talent is there. It just feels like a lack of direction, and that's
Yeah, it
so
feels-
disappointing to say.
It feels like a lot of Wolves is like they just I don't know, they just crumble and then it's like Shinka to clutch or they go home. Like
Right.
Shinka
You do be
is
clutching though.
he's
Dude.
I think he's the best player on Wolves and it's just I don't know, it feels like he's
that's
I
fair.
know when Mowgli's playing good, Mowgli
But-
is really
but-
good.
but
Like he can go out and
like,
win a map
how-
for Wolves.
how off like when was the last time Mowgli really like stomped the competition? Like
I mean, he,
Last invite,
I don't know.
think.
I don't know.
After
I mean,
they-
probably
It
not
it
that
doesn't
long ago,
feel
but it was probably
recently.
just for like one map or
exactly like he doesn't feel
It's
like he's been
inconsistency.
on consistently for a decent while now.
Well, I remember in Atlanta, for the group stage and the first part of Swiss when they went 0-2, Mowgli was not playing good. And then when Mowgli started playing good, that's when they kind of went on a little run and
Mhm.
won 2 best of 3s in a row. And then they ended up losing to GK. But if Mowgli's playing good, I mean, this team, they probably won't get last in the group, but we'll see.
And if you
it
think
seems
about
like
it,
there's a decent chance.
if you think about it, if
Yeah.
Shinka doesn't have all those clutches that he does, they would have
That's
probably
true, too.
lost
Yeah.
the last.
Mhm. How long does
Major,
that luck
so-
persist?
Yeah.
And
Not that all of
one
it
more
is luck,
thing
but-
I want to say, like obviously they've been sort of inconsistent, but to be fair, they've had back-to-back top 11 placements, and top 11 obviously doesn't sound nearly as good as top 8, but that's still top half of the major. There's 24
Sure.
teams now at the majors. They've been only one round away from top 8 both times, so like they've not been getting stomped by any means. Still,
Right.
they've been to
That's fair.
more tournaments than most other teams in existence, and if you just want to, just since they've been Wolves, it's a crazy amount of international experience. I don't think it's so easy to count them out. I think it's extremely unlikely they go out in this group. Like maybe
When was
they
the
get
last
fourth,
time?
third.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
sorry. I
No,
was wondering when was the last time they actually missed an international event? Does anyone know? Because it really
Been a
does
long
feel
time.
like they've been like
Did they
at
miss
every
one
single one. Like, have
a
they
little bit
missed in the
ago?
last 2 years?
Is there, yeah, maybe there's
So
not
they're
one.
at Young Ping.
Have
They
been
might have
think they
missed one of
missed
the majors
one-
last year. I'm not sure.
They might have
at
missed one when they were
Berlin?
LFO at that one point.
But that
I
was
don't
all
know.
the way back in.
That was a long time
They've
ago.
been Wolves for a long
That's
time.
Charlotte,
Yeah.
right? When they, or no,
Yeah,
Charlotte. The first. This is the first one. They're Wolves, right?
Okay, they were at
Mexico?
Atlanta,
Or
they
no,
were at
Sweden?
Copenhagen, they were at Invite, they were
I don't
at
think they were
Young
at Sweden.
Ping, they were at
Wait,
Berlin.
was
They
that
were
when
in
they
a-
were Vitality?
They were
They were in a-
Vitality in Charlotte, or it. Yeah,
That
'cause
Yeah,
Wolves.
they
were
were.
They debuted as Wolves in Charlotte.
That's right.
Yeah, so
And
they haven't missed since Charlotte.
I don't think
Yeah.
they've mixed since. Were they at Mexico? I think that was the last one.
Nope.
Yeah,
not
they've
there.
been to every single post quarantine LAN except for Mexico, right? The first one.
Which
They've been to all
is
of them.
insane.
Which
I
is
mean, that's
insane. Like I just.
That's
Right.
really impressive.
And
I'm
they
with you
haven't
there,
done
Tanner.
anything at any of them.
That's why I put them above D plus.
Yeah, I just.
As impressive as D plus is, Wolves are also just amazing in best of three, and now like this
That's
with
true.
group stage being best of three, I have to agree it's not likely that they're going to be eliminated.
But I think it's so unreasonable to say that they'll get outperformed by D plus and Bliss. I guess like I wouldn't.
I think what this
wouldn't be the
ranking
most
really
shocked of it,
represents,
but still.
I think Wolves just have the least upside. I think there's a chance Bliss makes a good run. There's a chance D plus makes a good run, but Wolves I don't see making it past top 10. I think they may get stuck in that kind of middle of the pack area where they always.
I think Wolves has more upside than D plus and Bliss just because of the experience. I will say. I think they have a chance to go farther than both those teams.
I think the sentiment we're looking at here a little bit is that we've seen so much like Bliss. They were close to maybe like having the ability to show us something. They almost made it into Swiss. Who knows if they would have got decimated or not. And D plus they were good back when, and then they've been bad for quite a while now. But maybe with the new addition of the roster, they can have some upside. We've seen Wolves at every event, and they've never gone super deep. But they've been there all the time. We just have so much more exposure to them. I think is maybe what's driving our feelings around this. Like, you seeing them as
That's
mid,
fair.
but like mid as far as going to an event is still impressive globally.
Absolutely.
That's true.
I would say something else about them, but I think we feel like we need to move on.
Yeah, let's get into the group of death.
Cap it off. One
Okay,
last thing. What
group
you got?
C
One
is-
last thing. Say one last thing. You got it.
I know you guys are like they've performed mediocre at events, but if you look at the majors for these stage, I guess 1 and 2, the only teams they've beaten have been APAC teams, which is not very impressive, at least to me. They might have also beaten VP, but I don't know if that really counts, I guess, in my book.
Hold up. Is he spitting? Is he telling the truth now?
He might be.
They beat
Scroll down
Viral.
a little more into the playoffs.
They lost, or they beat. Yeah, so they beat. They beat Viral twice.
It's not the biggest achievement.
They
Oh, no,
they beat
okay,
M80.
M80.
They crushed SSG. No, they got non-APAC wins.
Okay, maybe I'm
see what you're
thinking.
saying.
Oh no, I'm thinking of someone else. I'm about to brink low. Never mind.
And check Atlanta just to be safe. Were they frauds in Atlanta?
I do
Wolves,
think they had a weaker schedule in the
They did the
playoffs.
exact same thing in Atlanta and Copenhagen, pretty much.
Yeah,
lost
Wolves had one of the
They beat
weakest
M80
schedules.
again, and they beat D+. So they beat a few NA teams.
You could just beat
Two of
M80.
them were- yeah, they could just farm M80.
Bro, M80.
Okay.
Bro.
Everyone was. If you're being honest.
That's an interesting
That's
thing
true.
to note, though. It's always good to look at which teams are actually beating to get to a certain position for sure. So let's move on, and I think it's back to me as first pick.
Go for it.
Group C, Group of Death. I don't think we're gonna have much variance here. Whoops. W7.
Let's speed through
You
it.
know who it is. Yeah. Flambe. Is anybody gonna say something?
Yeah, I got Virtus Pro.
I had a
Of
feeling.
course he does. Of course.
For
he
real?
does.
Hey, I'm a hard believer.
Oh, okay.
Um,
All right. Well, we'll return to that note later. Tack, what do you got?
I'm gonna go W7M.
Yeah, crazy.
Yeah,
Well.
it's W7M.
B7M.
Give me
Bomb?
L7M.
Hey, bro, not if you got them in your number one spot.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
can be quick. 2-time major champions in the same year. See if they go for the three-peat. I mean, this roster is just insane. No,
Yeah,
no
they're
notes.
disgusting.
And another thing, and it's not like this is just like some almost superstition thing, but they've never. I don't think they've ever gone down in placement, have they? Like they did badly in Charlotte, and part of that was to do with the visas and whatever. But then they got like top 8, and then they got top 4, and then they got second at SI, and then they got first, and they got like they've never gone down internationally, unless I'm forgetting something. So,
That's
Charlotte,
that's crazy.
they were like emerging as a team in Charlotte too, right?
Yeah,
That was
yeah.
like
they were
like
impressive
kind of new.
regionally, and then they showed up,
Yeah.
and then people were like they're frauds. But then I mean that's really not fair because the visa thing, like they were playing remotely with 100 ping or whatever.
Yeah, no, since they've entered the scene, they have just been so dominant. You can't count this team out.
If they win this SI, they're probably the best team to ever play Siege. I think.
They'll be up
I think-
there with G2 for sure.
I think
Yeah.
I think winning 3 events in 1 year. I mean, and like G2, you know, they were playing against like old G2 is playing against like plumbers and stuff, and these
Yeah,
guys,
the
you know, we're
plumbers.
playing against
Plumbers and farmers and
real-
DoorDash drivers.
Farmers.
real
You're
guys.
gonna piss some people off there, K-Bomb. Careful.
That's
Um,
I think that's a discussion for another day. If they do win this, I like
It's a
obviously
joke,
Yeah.
guys.
they're like number.
Don't send me death
I
threats.
don't know. I don't think we should discuss it. I think that's going to be too much of a tangent. But
Let's
in the
leave it.
modern era, like post core, like no team anywhere near as good as these guys. They're the only one that have won 2 events, and
Mhm.
they were runners up also in an SI. Like it's just insane. Like, how are these guys so good?
Yeah.
One question I do want to raise, and I don't know if you guys like watch a ton of Brazil. I don't watch like a ton. How big of an influence do you think their coach is on their dominance? Because they had a couple of roster changes, and they seemingly got even better when they brought on Velopox and Nade. But it's the same coach the whole time, right?
I mean,
Yes.
I think he's got to be doing something right. And realistically, I think for me, it's proof of a good coach when you can bring in new talent and there's hardly any kind of transition. When everything clicks together, it's because that coach is leading them to the best of their ability.
Yeah,
All I'm
winning-
saying-
Both these, yeah, Igor and a brew, something like that. Yeah.
I mean, winning
All I'm
2
saying
majors in a
is-
row is like just like I feel like most teams, if you win 1 major, then you might get a little bit like not work as hard in the off season. But obviously, their coach was. I mean, they worked hard and they won again. So
And
I think that's
another reason, it's not just
credit.
that they showed up and they played the same way as everyone else but better. Like they innovated, right? Like they basically created the meta. Everyone was talking about how their super aggro defense plays on border, and that sort of permeated through the rest of the meta. So when it's a whole big playstyle thing like that, like you have to imagine it's more the coach than in other scenarios where it's just players outplaying the other team, right?
hmm
Not that they didn't
I
outplay
hear
them,
you.
but also like the strats were really good. And
All I'm
yeah,
saying
I don't.
is, ever since Julio left, is when they started winning. So I think we can put 2 and 2 together.
Oh, maybe it's Volts on that note. I mean, Volts.
That's what
I
people are
might
saying.
make a video about him soon. I'm thinking about it, but it's tough. Just he left the team, and then he's in the finals at the next event when it was Liquid versus W7M, and then they get crushed. That's tough.
Wasn't he like their best player that event though? I feel like he was like Liquid's like
yeah,
top rated player.
or
He's
maybe
certainly
like
up
he
there.
started off slow. Yeah, I think one half of the event he was. I think it might have been the second half. Like he was crazy
Yeah.
in the playoffs. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, nothing else needs to be said for the best team in the world. Let's move on to the second pick. So back to K-Bomb.
I have. This is gonna be a shock. I got Bleed number 2.
Ooh, wow.
That is a shock.
Interesting.
Okay.
You guys are
um,
gonna be braver than me. Like I always have cowardly picks.
I'm
I
in
love
shock
Bleed,
after
bro.
that one.
I love
Um,
Bleed, and I think
got-
they're the confidence. Okay, yeah, go.
Sorry, I've got Liquid as my number 2.
Liquid. Sure. Tact.
I also have Liquid as my number 2.
I
Well,
so want to say someone up in W7M, but I can't. Like it's gonna. I can't. I have to put W7M top 2. Like it would just be a crime to put them third.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Truly heinous. I put M80. I'm a little bit surprised
Wow,
nobody else has had M8. Well, obviously the top spot, but so we got liquid, two
all
liquids. I
5
guess we
teams
need to
have
talk
been
about
named.
liquid.
It's actually
Wow.
Yeah, but we've only
That's
got
crazy.
the one VP, one M80, and one blue.
It's
So
true,
yeah,
that's
I guess
true.
next up,
I'm-
or let's do
I've
another. Let's do the
spoken
next
to
round.
Let's
We'll
do
the
another
next
round, see what happens.
Yeah. I have liquid next. As much as I like VP, they've just been so weird lately, and I'm
Three
not super
Brazilian
confident in
teams?
them. Maybe if they were in a different group, but in this group, it's a little bit dubious. Flambe.
I have M80 next.
I also have M80.
Okay, here they're coming out of the woodworks now.
I got VP now in
VP?
third.
Yeah, I like
and
that.
K-bomb.
I have liquid.
All right.
Okay,
Well,
now
where
let's
does that
talk
leave
about
us?
liquid.
Yeah,
Everyone
four
has selected
liquids.
liquid.
Well, except
No
one.
liquid here, but
Oh, sorry,
only
my
three
bad.
M80s. Well, yeah, go liquid.
It's
Who
just
wants to take
weird.
it? Who's the biggest liquid fan here?
I guess between me and Tact, I've been rooting for Liquid very quietly for a long time. I'm a huge fan of Palu. I think he deserves
the
some
goats.
kind of championship. Yeah, absolutely one of the greatest to
Oh,
touch
yeah.
the game. And
Up there with
I
Nest
know
too.
lately it may not look like that, but he has been consistent for a long time. I do want him to have a championship before he retires, which unfortunately it may be soon, just due to life kind of coming his way. I think isn't Palu a dad?
I thought that was Ness.
Nesk
Or
is
they
a
might-
dad.
Nesk
That's
is
Ness.
for
Sorry,
sure.
I got those mixed up. But
He might also Paulo might also be one, but
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure.
too sure.
I think Liquid in groups it's not as big of a factor, but once they get to the main stage, I suspect that Liquid or FaZe will have the most crowd support, and I hope they can just ride that wave to a victory.
Yeah, they didn't show up in Atlanta because they didn't qualify for Atlanta, but in Copenhagen, yeah, I mean they made it to the grand final. So the last major that they attended made it all the way, and then maybe just a little bit of a shaky stage. Another one of those rosters where on paper like they just look incredible, and I don't know, they got resets on there. Maybe people aren't the biggest reset supporter, but the rest of the roster looks insane, right? Nesk and Palu and Lagonis and I don't know. Are you guys big Lagonis fans? Or are you guys Lagonis doubters?
I am.
I think he's
great.
a
This-
great sport.
I like
He
Lagonis
does-
and resets. I like both of them.
Lagonis is the definition of literally hard support. That's what he does. That's what he'll always do. He'll always just lock the smoke, mute, thermite, all of that, and just that's all he'll do if you ask him to.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to give it up. I don't know. Anything else we want to say about Liquid? Like, I guess maybe they're out for
I
revenge.
do.
Finally, they get to play on home soil. I don't know. Is that their first time ever? Did they were probably at the Sao Paulo event way back, but that's like not the same team at all. Maybe Nesk was still there.
No, it's
If they
not.
played, I don't know. They get to
I
play
think-
on home soil, and do you guys think they're the biggest? Like they'll be the most rooted for team?
Yes.
I think
Brazil
Between
loves
them and
Team Liquid.
FaZe, I think.
I think it's Team Liquid.
Nesk Palu, like ooh,
That's fair.
that's tough to beat.
That's fair.
FaZe obviously big too, but
I think
they got
I think it'll be everyone for FaZe and everyone for Liquid until they if they play each other.
Ooh, yeah.
yeah.
So
That'll be a hell of a match.
that would
Anybody
be.
else got-
I would love to see that.
I think
That'd be a
the
good one.
biggest problem for Liquid is I don't know how much you guys are going to be able to comment on it, but it's their coach. I do not like their coach at all. I was having a discussion with he's in the Infinity server Jay. They were
Jay's,
in the
Jay's a Palu hater.
he's a
Hug-
Liquid
Hugzord?
fan,
Kinda
but we were
Hugzord?
discussing
Loves
that
Nest.
yeah, he does love Nest, but we were discussing that we felt like Liquid should have picked up Julio as a coach instead, since we do not. Their coach now has put Volps in a role. The only reason why they didn't make the major last stage is because of the role they put Volps in, which is basically what Laguna should have been doing. Was they were putting Volps on Thermite. He wasn't being on the second entry, even just a flex role in general. He was not being played, and that kind of cost them in losing to Los in the qualifier. And I think if I guess Volps can do what he was doing before in the first major and when he played for W7M. I think they'll go far, but I guess it's just gonna all depend on that.
Yeah, what is Volp's natural role? Is he like a flex or was he like second entry? Or was he? Or
I
was he? No, what was he?
thought he
He was a
was
second support.
second entry.
I think that's correct.
Hertz KZ, were they not the?
I was gonna say Hurts and KZ surely
Were they not the duo?
the top
Entry duo,
two.
and he was like flex. I feel like he always had a lot of entries, regardless.
Because they had it was him. Is that him? JB92, KZ Hurts, and GDN. I think when they
I
first.
feel like he was
came
support
out.
on. He played some sort of support on.
Yeah, it was
I think he was-
GDN and then
he's-
Julio were the
Yeah,
were the
with
supports,
the hard
and
supports.
JV was always the second support, right? So he was either flex or second.
Yeah, so I think he was a
He probably
flex. He was
I
flex.
feel like he's flex. Yeah. Yeah, and there's a reason. And my understanding is that he didn't get kicked right from W7. He left. He wanted to go to Liquid for the prestige or the money or the potential or whatever. Maybe not potential.
Well,
but
I mean, he was like
obviously
W7's
right, yeah.
highest rated player at that time, so I don't think he would.
Gotta get that
got
bag.
benched.
No, I don't think he got kicked, right? Unless it was like an interpersonal thing. But yeah, I think he wanted to go play with Nesk and Palu and try to win there.
I mean, between Ness,
not-
Palu, and Volps, that might be like the most talented trio in this whole thing. Like that, just saying those three names on the same team is like very like their potential has to be extremely high just because of those three players.
I agree.
That's fair enough. Let's move on unless anything else they really want to say on Liquid.
I'm good.
Are we?
I got nothing.
Where are we back at?
I think K-Bomb's up.
K-Bomb again, yeah. K-Bomb, what you got? Number 4.
I have M80.
M80.
Right there with you.
Sorry,
M80
falling
is
back.
fourth.
It's okay.
M80. Tech.
I have Bleed.
Bleed. Ooh, Kuzma's
I
name.
have Bleed.
Bleed. And me, I have Virtus Pro. Yeah, Bleed in the last position for me. But does everyone else have everyone else? No, Tom. you guys have Bleed
I
as
have
well,
Liquid last.
We've already talked about.
I
I think M80 next. Right?
Yep,
Everybody
M80 's
said
next
M80.
up.
Yeah. Okay. I have M80 the highest. So I don't know that I have like super strong opinions on them. They dropped Yaga, they kept Kino, and now they're switching them. They brought Yaga back, I guess, to sub in temporarily. Unless he does really well, then they'll keep it. Like I think it's still up in the air whether it's like a permanent acquisition. Oxygen, I don't know what they're doing at all, except for I've heard that they're supposed to be rebuilding around Dream and Newers, but I don't know. Maybe they'll get Yaga back. Who knows? I think another on paper incredible roster. Spoit, great player, one of the best in the world, most talented in the world, probably. Iconic, probably flying under the radar a little bit since he's gone to M80, but I don't think for any good reason. Still a phenomenal player. Yaga went back to Yaga and Kino doing these funny things, switching around Oxygen and M80, but phenomenal player. I think he proved like really solidified himself as a phenomenal player in his time back on Oxygen, even if they didn't quite qualify for anything. And Diaz and Gomez. I don't know. Like maybe I was a Gomez doubter once upon a time, but he's been so good recently. And Diaz, like, just pillar of excellence at all times. He's always so good. Maybe he baits a bit, but like so consistently good. Extremely stacked roster. Again, one of the best rosters I think in the world on paper. But I'll give it up. They did fall flat at both of the last majors, but they did do well at the oil money tournament. But
I think
1 and 6 at the other 2 events is not great.
What's funny is even though I have him in fourth, I agree with everything that you just said. The talent is there, and I think the reason I have him in fourth and the reason why they haven't been performing is got to be Bodega. I don't think their coach is doing it for him. And I don't. This is the same coach who was banned for a year for using some Brazilian slurs. Definitely not a fan of that. But even outside of that, M80 is one of the most talented rosters in North America. Has some amazing stars, and some just consistent support players and flex players in Gomez and Diaz. And for them to not perform with all that talent, you got to start looking at the coaching staff.
I mean, how do you feel about the other coach though, Vivas, who was Well, I don't know. I assume Bodega was still pulling all the strings while he was banned, but Vivas was technically the the main coach for that year.
If I remember correctly, M80 did okay without Bodega around, which at the time surprised me, but now I think just it makes a little more sense.
And that's also the same guy who took MIBR to several impressive placements at SIs.
Good
Something
point.
to be noted, but
And
you could
they're
be
a
right.
super team. It's just when are they gonna start playing like it?
Yeah,
They're the best team
exactly.
in every event. When will they win?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Even though
And they've got a couple Brazilians as well. Maybe a bit of a boost for them as well.
Good point.
I think even though I have them at third, they're actually like my underdog of the tournament. I actually have them top 5 because I think the only question mark there is the roles they're going to be doing since Kino is gone. I guess Gomez is just going to be the permanent support player.
Is that what we're assuming? Not Diaz?
I was thinking
I think
Diaz.
it might be
Because
either.
Diaz has been second
of-
support, but you think it makes sense for
Okay,
Gomez to
then-
leap all the way back from his position to hard support? That seems crazy.
I could
I
also
think-
yeah, and then
see Iconic doing it. Maybe he
Yeah,
played
Yeah,
a
that's-
lot
I'd see
of
that.
he's played a lot of smoke on Astralis, and
Yeah.
I don't think he would have a hard time picking up like a hard breach type thing on attack. So I wouldn't be surprised
just
if he
like
was doing neither.
the question mark of the roles. Like, of course, you know,
Mhm.
Sport's going to be your first entry, but who's going to be the second entry? Is it going to be Yaga? Is it going to be Gomez? Is Iconic going to be doing that?
I really feel like, and maybe I'll be made a fool. Maybe this. I feel like Spoit, Gomez on entry.
I agree.
And I really don't know Yaga and
Put
and
Yaga on
Iconic doing
flex.
some flex and I think a lot of teams do sort of do that. Their flex and their second support are a little bit interchangeable depending on strats and maps and whatever. And then DS will generally be the Thermite main. Sometimes you don't even need the Thermite, again, also depending on sites and maps. But I'll be surprised to see somebody else with Thermite playing more Thermite than DS, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yep, that's why I have them as like the underdog or top 5 team that I have. It's just I think I agree if they fall short on this invite. I think there has to be a coaching change because I think that at that point, that talent of a roster, there has to be some question marks, and they already got rid of who they thought was the problem with Kino. So it's just after that, it's not like you can get a whole new roster again.
Yeah.
Well said.
Anyone else, or should we move on? I feel like it's a move on moment.
Yeah.
Do
Let's wrap up the
we
round.
need to
We
do
got
the
some
last?
more teams to talk about.
Yeah, sure. Okay. It's back to me, I think, and I have Bleed obviously the last, and I could have been filling this in already. This is
That's all right.
Liquid.
It's Liquid. Yeah, it's easier if you just tell me, so I don't have to analyze. I might have been, I've had a few sips, boys. Let it be known.
It's
But,
VP.
it's VP.
Yep, I got Bleed as my last.
Bleed, and this is
With a little bit of heartache.
Okay. We could talk about VP or Bleed. I feel like whichever. I don't know. Somebody take the floor. Talk about one of the teams.
I'll jump in for VP as the European fan. It's definitely disappointing to see most of the group putting them so low, and I know they didn't have the most amazing major, but most of this roster made it to the grand final of SI 2 years ago.
Yep.
And I think they absolutely have the potential to do it again. They haven't been playing like it lately, but if the biggest if, in my opinion, is if Joystick can return to form and be the Russian cyborg that we know him to be. If we can get that back online, I think Virtus Pro makes a really strong run for top 5.
Yeah, for me, it feels like he's past his prime. Like there's no way he's going to return to consistency. He's had a few moments, like was it this last stage or the last? It was something like fairly recently where he was good, but then am I remembering? Was it the stage and then he did bad at the major? Is that what happened?
No, he had a bad stage. I think he had
Did he have bad at both? He definitely did well at either the. I think the first major he was. I don't know. Am I going crazy?
He had a bad group stage or something. I don't remember. I
he
remember him
well
being really bad at one point.
Copenhagen, like he was their only good player statistically.
That might have been the case. Is that last major he did well, this major not so much. I think
something's
going on in his headspace, and it's just mentally he was not there this stage. It feels like if they can correct that in the off season though, I feel like Virtus Pro really turns it around.
And also, give me a refresher here. I do remember for sure first stage Dan did really well during the stage. Didn't do nearly as well in the major. Did he do the same thing? He didn't. What was he good at this major?
I think that's right. Dan in general, I consider to be stronger on line compared to LAN, whereas joystick I think is a monster on LAN and kind of just okay online.
Yeah, I feel like if you talk about the online LAN split, like when you talk about LAN, joystick's got to be one of the first names that comes to mind.
Absolutely.
From a historical
It's
perspective.
interesting that this roster in particular, you feel that difference the most in terms of their performance.
So
I also
go ahead. You're good.
I also think of VP as a good best of 3 team. So I think, I think that could potentially help them too in the group stage. Because I was thinking it was best of 1s. I wouldn't change my prediction, but I think that could give them more of a fighting chance. That's best of 3s.
That's a good point. They're probably one of the teams that benefits most from that fact. Copenhagen, they won their first 2 best of 1s. They lost the next 2, and then they lost to M&M 2-0. They lost their only best of 3. And Atlanta, let me double check what happened there. They also same thing as Wolves. They made it to the final round of Swiss both times. And the second time they lost to NIP, and then they beat Wolves, beat D+, lost W7M, lost to BDS. Those are 2 pretty tough draws for your last 2 rounds. I mean,
Yeah.
And so they actually did not win a best of 3 at either of the last 2 majors, and they only played 2 to be fair, but they didn't win either of them.
They also played both 2 EU teams.
2
so
EU
that
teams.
also
Yep. So they same thing as FaZe I was saying earlier. They get to at the end of the line came to their own region, and both pretty handily, both 2-0s. So we'll see. I think a little bit better from them this last time, just because of who they ended up losing to, but not the tournament performance that you generally expect from these guys.
All right. Shall we talk about Bleed?
Absolutely, we should.
Who's the biggest Bleed?
I think
who had them at?
I did have them at 2.
Lead us off, man.
I think that Bleed is the best APEC team here outside of Minna. I think that you can bait GK and Bleed, but I think Bleed. I think they have a good shot. I like they didn't play good in Copenhagen, but they had a lot of confidence, a lot more confidence in Atlanta. They made it out of groups to the Swiss stage.
They weren't at Copenhagen.
They weren't at Copenhagen, right?
No, they didn't qualify.
They were not.
Oh, no. Was it a major last year or SI or something? I remember them.
I'm pretty sure Atlanta was their first major.
Was that their
debut?
But
you might be thinking.
I'm thinking of Reeps. Who was Reeps playing with?
He was on Dire Wolves.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
it was Dire Wolves.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And I remember they were in a group with Wolves and they got last, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So Reeps is extremely talented, and I think that I think they're just getting better and better the more LAN events they play at. And I think that they're going to be slept on by these other teams a lot. So especially early in the tournament, they might be a little bit slept on, and I could see them getting, second in this group like I predicted.
At least, I guess to kind of contradict your point, the only reason why they weren't at Copenhagen is, I guess I've been following them in their league. The only reason why they didn't make it to the first major is because they are not a good best of 3 team. They were undefeated both stages in their league because of best of 1s. The only reason why they made the second major is because they played Elevate in a best of 3, and they're not the best team.
Yeah, and I do think that could hurt them. I didn't really know, but I was just thinking it was going to be best of 1s.
That's what I did too. I was going to rank them in second as well.
Now, hang on. I do have breaking news that not everyone in the call may be aware. Just within the hour, Bleed announced that they are bringing on Julio as their coach.
I think we saw that right before. Right? I kind of forgot.
Yeah,
but didn't we?
Yeah, I sent that. But
it's definitely beneficial.
It is beneficial, yeah.
Do we think that literally just happened, or do we think they just announced it and it's been?
That's the thing.
No,
if it just happened, that's 2 weeks ish before they.
Considering there's 3 Brazilian teams in this group, Julio is going to help them a lot. So
That's a very good point too, though.
yeah.
Like I said, I was gonna have him at second until I realized it was a best of 3. I do not like bleed in a best of 3, but they do have M80 in their group, so and you know how they perform against NA teams not being Dark
Well,
Zero.
there
It's only
is
in the
that.
one round.
People have been saying that, but they beat M80 and Sonics. They lost to Dark Zero and SSG, so they went 2-2
Oh, yeah.
against NA teams, and on maps they went 2-3 or 3-4. No,
Yep,
Am I-
3.
I'm pretty sure that I know they won a
Three and
map
four.
against SSG.
no, they
'Cause
no
they
3
were
and 3, right?
3-3.
Because they 3
Yep,
and 3.
3-3.
Yeah,
They were saying
they went
crankers
even.
get cranked.
I do like the roster
Unfortunately.
though.
Sorry, Ty, go ahead.
Reach is very good, and actually I think I might be wrong, but one of their actually highest performers in the last major was Turdsta. So I
Mhm.
think I picked up in fantasy when we were playing that.
I think a lot of
that I
people are
did.
big on Turd these days.
Because
He's been on the ranked for a
that
while.
actually might also be the reason why they didn't make the first major as well. They had someone else I wasn't really familiar with, but the second stage they dropped him, picked up Turdsta, and he's helped them a lot. So
So
That's
yeah,
true.
they were one map away from making top 8 in Atlanta. No small.
or even
percentage.
one round if they beat
Were
Dark
they?
Zero.
Is that?
Yeah, that would be 3.
Oh
That'd
yeah,
be
yeah.
3
Sorry,
wins.
yeah. One round, and then what was the score against SSG?
One map.
Map.
It was close.
Was that one close?
They won the first map, I think, and then they got beat.
God, there's too much to
Could
look
be
at.
wrong.
Where is
All the way at
that?
the bottom there. Bottom of round 5.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, the
They
last
won the
map was
second
not
round.
close. But yeah, one round against DZ, just like Fury were, in
Mhm.
a slightly different situation. That covers it for Group C, I think.
So
We have one more group to talk about. Let's go to Group D, starting with K-Bomb.
I have Sonics at number 1.
SQ.
interesting. I've got Los as my number 1.
Tact.
I also have Los.
I have Los as well.
And I went Sonics. And I think these will be pretty unanimously the top 2. But let's do the second round as well, just in case. I have Los. I have Los, of course. In
I have. What's my number 2? I have Falcons.
oh, okay. Well.
Yeah, sorry.
Falcons. All right.
I have Sonics.
Okay.
Begrudgingly, I have Sonics.
Yeah.
Los.
And that's 5 losses. So, one of you
Talk about
Los
Los.
want to go? Yeah.
I mean, I had the pleasure of sitting front row while they were in Atlanta. They are a very, very fun team to watch. Loban, of course, had an amazing performance. But Maya has also been an incredible talent for them. I do think the stars kind of aligned for them to have the run that they did in Atlanta. I don't think they're the strongest team at this event, but I do think they're the strongest team in this group.
Los, I think, or rather, Maya looking like, I think for a while now, looking like one of the best players in the world. And I don't know if that's just some concoction of being on, for a while, like a slightly underachieving team, but being very good. Like sometimes you get advantages in that way.
Mhm.
But I think it's been long enough now that he's just been so spectacular that, yeah, he just looks like one of the best in the world. One thing I want to mention about Los, they went on a little bit of a Cinderella run to make it to the final in this last major. Weren't at the major before that, but at the previous SI, while they also didn't place well, they were the second best team in groups overall. M&M went 8-0 on maps, but Los also, and they were Los 1 or something. I don't know. They've changed names a few times. They didn't lose a series either. They went 8-3 on maps, but they still won all of their best of 3s. So that's something to be said, even if they crumbled as soon as they made it to bracket.
Yeah, I think that, like what Tom said, that the stars really did align in Atlanta. I mean, Loban and Maya were both playing insane, and then Cameraman had some big clutches, big moments, and I mean,
I think
they all
Cameraman
really did.
surprised. A lot of people thought Cameraman was washed, and
Yeah.
I think he proved a few folks
So
wrong.
I just don't. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were at Atlanta. But I mean, they're still. I mean, if Loban and Maya are playing like they did, I mean, they could do the same thing.
They beat Bleed. They were in the same group as Bleed. They played them. 7-4 Night Haven Labs.
Look at Cyclops beating Talon.
Oh, Cyclops.
Only people they can
They almost
beat.
made it out of there.
They almost did make it. Wow.
They almost made it. And then yeah, they went on to Loasted. They went on to surprisingly get crushed by Damon, but then they beat Scars. They beat Nip. They beat GK. So a few wins there, and then of course they also beat Dark Zero 2-0, and that's a little bit of revenge for a tournament quite a while ago. God, what major was that? Was that Mexico or like Sweden? I don't know. Whatever it
Would
was.
that be Team 1 or
Not no. It was they were still Los.
close?
I don't know. Whatever. A few majors ago.
They were a very different roster back then.
Yeah, they had like maybe a few of the same guys. And then yeah, they beat FaZe. Obviously, we touched on this before, but they beat FaZe pretty badly. And then they got the map on W7M, so one of the only 2 teams at the event to get a map. And they had up to potentially 5 or 3 chances. Really is what it boils down to, because if you lose all 3, it's done.
Right.
So yeah, a good run from them. I don't know, like it's and not an easy run. They had to play Dark Zero, they had to play FaZe, they had to play GK, who were hot this tournament. They had to play Nip. Like they didn't just cruise through a bunch of APAC teams or anything, and they actually lost to an APAC team in D+. So yeah, compared to I don't know, how do you guys feel compared to Sonics? Why the general consensus? Because I think a lot of people think Sonics number 1 in the group, but this group thinks Los number 1.
I've got Sonics on fraud watch, and that's probably going to make a lot of people mad. And it doesn't even make sense to me necessarily, because I think Grixer and Rexen are one of the best modern duos in Siege right now. Citizen is mechanically gifted and pretty amazing. I even really like Geo as their support, but they just have not been able to get it together at majors this year. And that's very concerning that they've gotten a first round. I think I'm correct. I took notes. They got a first round bye, I think, at both majors, and at both majors they couldn't make it out of playoffs.
No,
And
one
that's
of them
concerning.
they were in one.
Oh, all right, I'm wrong. They were top 4
Copenhagen,
in
yeah,
Copenhagen.
and yeah, they were
My
top
bad.
4, and they
Yeah,
also
they beat Nip.
started in groups. They beat
Okay.
Bodega and Revan, which is maybe
My
not the most
mistake
impressive,
then.
but they made a very deep run. So they had to
Yeah.
they were back against the wall in North America, had to qual last chance, beat a few
Oh
teams
man,
here, made it to
I
top
sure
4.
hope
So
they return to that form.
that's big, and that was when they were, remember, SI was in the middle of this, but they got top 4 at the major before SI, and then they didn't do so well at SI. They got like 16th or whatever, losing to Astralis, and then they made it to top 4 again. And now they didn't do well this last major, but still, that's still 2 pretty recent good showings.
I think the Ambi edition is going to help them.
And we got to talk about that.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people that don't think that that's going to be as good of a move, but I think they really do need someone that can like just get in there, because their attacks are just been really slow, and I just don't think Gunner was that guy for them. So I think Ambi could be the person they're looking for. So maybe.
What do we reckon are the roles on this team?
That's
What position is Ambi playing?
Well, I watched Super's video on it, and he said pretty much Ambi was going to be like, at least on attack, was going to be like the entry guy or whatever.
Like first entry?
Like first guy in there.
I guess that makes sense. Well, I don't know, Rexen. That maybe is a little bit.
I guess that's my problem with the team, because you need a secondary support, and on that team,
Yeah.
looking at it, who is that next to
like
Geo?
Obviously Geo's hard support, and then
Right.
it looked
Otherwise, you got 4 entries.
Rexen and Ambi, yeah.
I feel like it's
and
Grixer for the second support at this point. Like,
and that sounds insane. Yeah.
I know, but
Yeah,
like
that's
Rexen and Citizen, I can't imagine them not on
I feel
an
like
entry-ish
Citizen
role.
kind of plays flex for Sonics.
Yeah, Rexen certainly definitely more aggressive player.
Yeah,
than Citizen
yeah.
and
Yeah.
Grixer, but I don't know. We'll have to see. I guess a
Alright,
lot of teams are
interesting.
like sort of doing this trend. It's similar to M80, where we
Moving away from support.
It's
in
not
general.
clear who their 2 supports are.
Yeah.
Not that you necessarily have. It's not that rigid, but in a sense, it's sort of like that. I think Ambi will be fun to watch if nothing else. I hope he shows up big for his first event, but we'll have to see. Going all the way to Brazil, it's gonna be daunting.
I won't miss Gunner. Not for a
one
second.
of the
Oh, dude,
the problem-
Gunner.
I like
was
Gunner.
not it. Hey, he seemed like a nice enough person, but I don't think he was the right. I mean, obviously, he wasn't the right fit.
He played good in
Sonics.
Copenhagen though. I think when they did go on that run, he was pretty. I think they had on one entry maybe, and or he was getting a lot of kills.
Yeah, one or maybe even both of the majors that they made top 4, he was pretty good. Certainly an inconsistent player, but I mean certainly had his moments as well. And I guess we've like sort of already talked about Sonics, but
Alright,
yeah,
let's move on to round
let's
3.
move on, and we are back to.
I think it's you.
Check here. It's me.
Or
Is it
no,
me?
no, it's K-Bomb.
No,
Sorry,
it's K-Bomb, right?
I can't remember how it works.
Okay, this group I have pretty chalk, so I have Falcons at 3.
Let's see. I'm right there with you. Falcons at 3.
Whoops. Falcons. Okay. Tact.
I actually have Scars at 3. They're the
I
team.
have. Go ahead.
We'll get back to
Oh,
it,
sorry. I
though.
was just gonna say that's just the team that it's like the underdog I'm rooting for.
Oh,
Okay.
fair enough.
I have Scars as well at 3.
Ooh, underdogs no longer. But no, I have Falcons. And let's speak on some
Let's talk about-
Falcons.
Yeah.
Talk about Falcons.
I like them. They're nice.
I like them too. I think they're underrated. I think GK, like what GK did, kind of made people think of GK as the meta team, and I think people are overlooking Falcons. I think they're potentially just as good. I mean, they beat GK to get into that major, and they lost to GK the next time. And they lost the best 5-3-1 recently in like the whatever event they had in Mena. But Joker, extremely talented player, and I mean, a little bit underrated in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the big two out of Mena, and I'll be honest, I don't think I've watched a lick of Mena ever. The actual league, just my understanding is that they're the top 2 teams, but more recently it was GK going to the major, and they also had a far better performance at their major than Falcons, who did make it out of their group, but they went 0-3 in Swiss. GK made it all the way to top 8, losing to the eventual tournament winner. So if we're just stacking them up against each other, and of course they're not in the same group, but GK has performed way better.
Let me put an asterisk on that, because when Falcons went to the major in Copenhagen, their 5th could not attend, and their coach, I believe Valentino, had to step in and play for them.
That's fair.
So I think the
That's
fact
true.
that they made as far as they did with their coach is just that much more impressive.
Oh yeah, everyone had them getting out.
I
in
mean,
groups, to be
GK
fair.
had a sub as well, but it seemed like they were. I don't know.
We
How
had it.
last minute was the leader edition? Do you guys remember?
It was
Like,
pretty
did
late.
Stars just align that he was able to go?
I mean, he didn't even have a jersey at the event, so it was pretty late.
Yeah.
Whoa,
He was wearing a
okay,
black
but
shirt.
we're
He was
not,
like a
basing
black
things by
shirt
jersey
or
and
whatever.
Rainbow Six Siege. So. Mirage.
I
Yeah.
do like
So go ahead.
I do
someone
like
else.
the rumored pickup of them getting leader. I think that would help them, but I guess we'll see if it's true.
Leader in for who? Do you know who the replacement? Who it's supposed to replace?
I'll be getting rid of Jalad, I think, because he was the one that couldn't attend the first time that they had.
Yeah, he didn't play in Copenhagen. Yeah. And then we said that Tyrant. Where was here or GK?
That was
No, he would
GK.
be. It was GK.
That was GK.
It's instead of
okay.
Noodle potentially.
Okay, but all right, so that has no bearing on this. Yeah, I mean they showed up big, and they had a lot of people rooting for them for a variety of reasons. The first MENA team to ever attend an international event, besides I guess what Gamers 8. And they were good in Gamers 8 as well. Would they make like top 4 or something? The one that they, or the first one I should say, the first one they went to.
They might
Which
have
is
even been
cool
top
and all.
2.
I think they
Really?
lost to BDS in the championship.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
you're
right.
You're right.
Yeah.
They did make top 2, which is cool. That's a little while ago now. I guess the biggest thing here is because pretty much almost all of us have Los and SQ in the top 2 spots, except for one of us. Falcons versus Scars versus Fury, but maybe we should do the other. Just do the
let's
last
get in the
two
next
rounds
round.
so that we can. Yeah. So we are back to me, and I have. Let's scroll down. I had Fury. Yeah. This one was almost like a last minute thing. In the video I made, I just sort of like randomly I gave Scars the benefit of the doubt just based on a little bit more impressive international performance at Copenhagen than Fury did at Atlanta, which was their better showing. And I've just heard a few rumblings, people saying that I don't know. They expect good things from Fury. I just haven't heard a lot about Scars. Flambe.
I have Sonics here.
Ask you. There they are.
I have
Tac-
Falcons.
Falcons. Tom.
I believe I've got Scars here.
Scars and K-Bomb.
I have Fury.
Fury. So
Scars.
what do we have? More Scars? No, I haven't.
By a thin
No.
margin.
Yeah. So I guess
Wait,
let's
Let's
somebody
round out
go,
the
go
picks.
yeah, let's round. So just go ahead and say it. K-Bomb, your final pick.
Scars.
Scars. Yeah.
Yep,
Tom?
same. Or sorry, not same.
No,
I've got
yeah.
Fury down here.
You got Fury. And then we
I
have
also have Fury.
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 And I had Scars. So yeah, I guess a little bit more support for Scars than Fury. And I don't know. Is anybody here a bona fide APAC expert? Even though APAC's maybe not the correct terminology these days.
I'm just cheering for them. I just like Rec and what he did the first major that they attended, and basically, I don't know if he really carried them into the top 8, but he was a big part of why they made it. And I guess the last major, they didn't really do good. I don't even think they won a game. But if you look at who they played all playoff teams. I think it was SSG, G2, and was it W7M? No, it was Los.
G2, Los,
So,
SSG, yeah.
Yeah, they had
so
one of
they
the toughest
played
schedules.
yeah, one of the toughest schedules. So I don't think we should be basing that off of how they'll do. I guess it's you're playing who's put in front of you, but I think that they can surprise people, and I hope that they can repeat what they did in Copenhagen.
Yeah, bit of a miracle run, and I mean, I'm not gonna say I hate the guys, but man, I did not like watching them eliminate SSG. I'll say that much. But that was that was a tough moment.
I agree.
Yeah, but I don't know. It could go either way. Like on any given day, you ask me, I could say Scars or Fury because I mean, to be frank, I can't say I know a ton about these teams. If we're just stacking up their performances, 0-3 from Scars at the most recent major is brutal, but again, they do have the fact that they did take the map off SSG and they played 3 of the deep advancing teams. And then Fury not made it to Swiss, but at least they almost did. You know, they just narrowly lost to Dark Zero in that round 15 on map 3.
The only reason I chose Fury over Scars is because Scars was trending upward from one major to the next, or Scars was trending down. Fury was trending upward from one major to the next. That's literally the only reason.
Thinking, yeah.
So
For me,
I do like I9 on Fury. He's good.
Fury's a fun team to cheer for.
They're another fun one for sure. Yeah. I9 former name change, right? And used to play on Elevate. He was right. I'm pretty sure.
So.
He changed.
The only
changed his tag.
Elevate that wasn't on a team was Sapper. If you're talking about that X Elevate.
Hold up, I'm not lying here, right? I9.
Our lack of APEC knowledge is showing, guys.
Yeah, this is Napier, right? Or
Napier
yeah,
played
he's like this guy.
Oh,
And he
that's
played
right. Okay.
Elevate. Yeah.
Oh,
Ooh,
okay.
I knew it. How'd I do that?
Thanks for leaving
I
that
don't know.
for us.
Fun little factoid, yeah. I guess okay, and I guess the final point, since I mentioned this earlier, is coming back to it. Why Falcons over these 2 APAC teams? Even if some of you were a little bit high on one of them over the other APAC teams, I mean.
I think we've just seen really strong performances out of Falcons in the past, and we just unfortunately haven't seen that out of Scars or Fury. You know, Falcons have Gamers 8 under their belt. They didn't win, but the second place against BDS is still pretty awesome. And they did well in their first ever major. I'll give them that edge.
Are you guys all high on the significance of Gamers 8? Like you guys don't think it's a Mickey Mouse event?
I mean, everyone was trying. It was a lot of money, so yeah.
Because I mean,
right.
On average, M80 was pretty low, but they made it to the grand final of the most recent one.
I don't think it's like as much as a major by any means.
Only 8 teams play on LAN, so it's not like you're playing in like a whole group stage and stuff or whatever. But you're still playing good teams, and everyone's trying their best. So I think so.
Fair enough.
I think for Falcons, I just like I don't know. I like the duo of O-Kills and Joker. I think they're very underrated entry duo.
I just like the vibes. It's a good time over on Falcons.
True.
Yeah,
I think it's just
I'm
meta teams
hoping
in general.
they show up decently well and get maybe just a little bit of prove the doubters wrong a little bit compared to their based on their own 3 Swiss performance, because again, they can at least say they had this coach subbing in, so only up from there hopefully. Anything else to say about Group D? I think we're pretty close to wrapping up here.
I guess we move on to what, top 3, and then
I'd like to really
I think we
quickly reorganize. Let's get our
Yeah,
consensus tier
I've been
list, and then we'll
crunching.
talk about
Yeah.
the.
okay.
I've been crunching
later.
numbers so I can read off just kind of average
Oh,
scores
cool.
if that's helpful.
Cool. Yeah.
So Group A, I've got G2 first with a score of 1.8. NIP's second with a score of 2. Then DZ at 2.4. GK at 3.8. And Fear X, the only team with a perfect 5.
Perfect.
Group B, I've got FaZe at 1.2. SSG at a clean 2. Bliss at 3.2. D plus at 4.2, and Wolves just behind at 4.4. Pretty
That's-
well defined tier,
That is
with the
surprising.
exception of last place. Group C, W7M was the clear front runner at 1.2. Then I've got Liquid in second, even though their score was a 3. M80s in third with a 3.2. VPs in fourth with a 3.6, and Bleed last at a 4. Definitely the tightest race in between those 4 teams.
Yeah.
Which is wild. But that's why this is the group of death. And finally, for Group D, I've got Los at a 1.4, Sonics close behind at a 2, Falcons at 3, Scars at 4, and Fury at 4.6.
So
Those are
yeah,
their
I think
average
a
group
pretty reasonable tier list. I think maybe the only things that might look a little bit peculiar to some people is Wolves being below both of these.
We gotta have one hot take.
And
Yeah.
I mean, besides that, honestly, like I don't
Maybe
know.
DZ
what else.
below Nip.
Like, I guess,
mean,
but
But that's not
that
even
might
that much of a hot take.
that could just
That's
be a bias thing.
Yeah.
Especially
And people are
like
just
in
going to
the
be like
Nip home field
hot
thing.
on DZ right now because of their roster changes. And Bolo
But-
gets publicity.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, unless things go like wild in this group stage, I like this feels pretty safe. Like every team, a little bit of mobility up or down, but I don't know. It's just hard to imagine it looking wildly different than this. I think it's a pretty good result overall.
Something will
So-
happen. Something will be completely
Oh,
different.
of course,
Good job,
something will
guys.
happen,
I mean,
but,
VP's going to get first, so that's going to happen. And Liquid will be last. Liquid's getting grouped. It's going to happen.
So yeah, do we want to? What do we have left on the agenda? We want to talk about our top teams. What else did we?
Top
want
3 and a
to-
dark horse. is all I have.
top 3 and a underdog.
Okay. Sure. So, do we? I don't know. Do you guys want? I didn't.
I'll just
who
volunteer.
wants? Sure, go for it.
I'll jump in. Top 3 in order. I got W7M, FaZe, and G2. Not a hot take because they're all first in their group. SSG is my dark horse.
It's actually the top 3 seeds as well for the event.
Oh yeah, no, it's by the books. But I think for good reason. And my one honorable mention, RIP BDS. They deserve to be
Dude,
here, and their roster is so scary
Yeah.
now that they have Yuzus and Solotov. But that's for next year, I guess. Who's next?
I'll go. I have W7M at 1, Dark Zero at 2, and Sonics at 3.
Okay.
Now, I'll say did I have Dark Zero winning their group? I didn't. I think Dark Zero is going to get better as the tournament progresses because of the new additions. So I think they're just going to get better. That's why I don't have them winning the group straight up, but I do have them at number 2. So.
Who's that dark horse, though?
SSG.
Hey!
Let's go.
Tack, do you want to take it next?
Yeah, I'll go. My top 3 is just the same as Tom's. It's W7M, FaZe, and G2. That's the seeding has kind of been put as well. And as I said, my underdog is gonna be Scars. I guess the underdog that I like. I guess the more realistic underdog. If you even count them as M80, I think that roster is just too
They're
good
a
to
bit,
kind
they're a
of.
bit dogging these days. When you say underdog for Scars, though, like how deep are you imagining of a run?
I think
First place.
they can. No, not first.
That would be like the wildest thing that's ever
that'd be
The
happened.
wildest.
crazy.
I think they can.
Like bar none.
I think they can make actually top 10.
Is that how it
I'd
works?
love
I
to
don't-
see it.
It's like top 12, right? Aren't like four
Is it
teams
top 12?
eliminated?
Uh,
Because
Um,
four
it's
teams
complicated.
get
It's double elimination, so it's complicated.
Yeah, I think it's top 16, top 12, top 8, top 6.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll
4
go
teams will
top
be
12.
eliminated
3,
at a
2,
time.
1. It's
Yeah.
it's like for the first 2 rounds.
Actually,
Yeah.
no. I'll go top 8 again. They'll repeat the
Mhm.
Copenhagen performance and make top 8.
Okay.
Flambe?
Okay, so third place, I have Los because I don't know. I think that roster has got a lot of potential, and they recently got second, so I think they can hopefully at least get close to repeating that. Number 2, I have W7M. Don't really need to explain that one. Number 1, I have VP. I know it's weird, but that roster is crazy. I think
Are
they're
they
still on a
crazy?
comeback.
You think
They're
still
on
that
a, I,
crazy?
they're
get it.
still on
Hey,
in
I'll
my
back
mind.
you up,
They're
man.
still on a comeback from when Empire disbanded. So I think they can do it. I know it's my dark horse. I think Bliss could potentially make top 12 or top 8. I think their roster is really solid, and I don't know. I just kind of like them.
Nice.
All right. I like sort of very loosely prepared it before, but I don't know. I've just been like changing my mind. Top 3, obviously W7M in there. I don't know. Like maybe I think it'd be a great storyline if they made it back to the grand final, but they didn't win again. I think it's a little bit less exciting if they win major SI, even if it is a great storyline of only upwards, never downwards sort of thing. But they're up there for sure. SSG I'm gonna put up there, and I've done this so many times. I've overridden them countless times. But you could feel it in the air, right, guys? We all want SSG to make it. You never know.
This episode is
Um,
sponsored by SSG.
Yeah, big SSG. Maybe they'll have
Just
the
a likable team.
No, but
the
they should
Jinxie,
actually
Jinxie
sponsor us.
cast. They'll give them the power up or whatever. I don't know. Like they were like electric at the last major, and that was in America. This is in Brazil. Maybe that'll be a bit of a down power down or whatever. I just have high hopes for this team at all times. If ever, try to manage my expectations a little bit, but I think they could do it. But I don't know. Don't blow me up if they don't do it. And my third one, I kind of want to say VP as well, and I was downplaying him a little bit.
Let's go.
I don't know. Like I should probably just pick Phase or G2 or
Grouped.
something. But whatever, group.
Shut up, K-Bomb. Shut up.
Nah, stick with it.
I'll go VP.
Yeah.
They were close. Like they've been shaky. It's like none of their players have been showing up all at the same. Their players haven't been showing up all at the same time. But regardless, they were still pretty close to at least making the top 8 of both majors. I don't know, like just a little bit of a feeling, and probably for nothing. But I hope to see them go far. They're probably my all-time favorite European team, at the very least. And dark horse, I mean, just based on our rankings, like I have to say Wolves. Like this just feels like a criminal rating to me. I feel like
That's fair.
I presented so much evidence. They've been at every event. They've made top whatever, like every event, but they're last place.
Well, now you just get to say "I told you so."
But I mean,
They
I
do
don't know.
well.
Like I once again can't imagine them going super deep, but I could see like a top 8 for them, as they've done in the past multiple times, and that would be also better than their major performances, much better than our placement on this tier list. And yeah, I think that does it, right? Unless is there anything else we want to discuss really quickly? But I think we're
That's
just
about
about
it.
pushing
I
through.
think
I think we're good.
Yeah.
If you
Cool.
got all the way through this far into the video, I mean, congrats. Like, yeah. Surprise.
Yeah,
Dude,
skip to the
I-
end.
Yes, to
I
us.
mean, cowardly. I don't know why you'd do that, but
Well,
might as well just click off. But here we
There we
are.
go.
Like the video. Yeah. I had some
And
fun. I mean, my first time doing something
was
like
fun,
this.
yeah.
And yeah, I really enjoyed
yeah,
it.
for sure.
Yeah, thanks
And
for
you
having
gotta
fun.
subscribe if Fearax is gonna win the invite.
Yeah, subscribe. I prefer if you
Fear
subscribe
X.
if you think they're not gonna win, but
Oh, come on.
Yeah, let's
but if
look
they
to
win,
maximize
do come back
subscriptions there.
because that's come on, it's a big day for Siege. Big day for
Whoa.
mankind. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it. So all of us signing off. I'll catch you guys next time.
All right.
See ya.
Sounds
All right.